Hi, everyone. Thank you all for taking your seats. We're going to stand up again in a second. Thank you so much for coming. I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:01, and will you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get started with our student and staff recognition. I'm sorry? Oh. Thank you, Kimberly.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Whipke, and the Ladue Schools community. How's everyone doing tonight? Now, there are a lot of you here. Good evening, everyone. All right, well, it gives me great pleasure, as always, to be able to share some of the accomplishments of our students and staff. Tonight, I'd like to begin by recognizing 3 students, and I'd like to invite them to come forward. Madeline Adwal. Madeline. Nethmi Americone. And Nivanka Americone. The students who stand before us have completed 400 hours of volunteer public service, 200 hours of personal development, 200 hours of fitness, and a 5-day trip focused on expedition and exploration. And as a result, excuse me, they have earned the Congressional Award Gold Medal, which is the highest achievement for youth given by the United States Congress. Now, they have not received these gold awards yet. They will receive these gold awards when they travel to Washington, D.C. next month. So we're all looking forward to hearing more great things about them and all the things that they're doing. But congratulations on this amazing achievement. Let's give them another round of applause. Are the parents here? Would you like to join them? Because there's no way you could have accomplished this on your own. Let's give it up for the parents. Miss Americone and Mrs. Adwal. Congratulations. The next recognition is actually a combined recognition, student and staff. The Ladue Middle School Plant Protectors, under the leadership of Mrs. Karen Wallace, 7th grade ELA teacher and their club sponsor. I would like to invite Leslie Mullen, co-director for the Missouri Environmental Educational Association and the co-manager of the Show Me Green School Suites program. She will help join me in this presentation.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you so much for letting me be here tonight, and congratulations to Ladue Middle School, because they are the winner of the Green Schools Quest this year as the Rookie School of the Year in the middle school category. Way to go. 80 schools participated in this year's Green Schools Quest from across Missouri and Southern Illinois. That makes it our toughest year of competition yet, since this program began in 2013. And just a rundown of what the Planet Protectors did. The Ladue Planet Protectors, which is Ladue Middle School's environmental club, took on an extraordinary number of sustainability initiatives this year that led up to creating the outdoor classroom, including recruiting students to join the Planet Protectors, creating subcommittees within the Planet Protectors to take on specific projects of interest, building planter boxes, starting a compost program, writing a grant for the outdoor classroom, designing the outdoor classroom space using well-researched ideas and sustainability principles, collecting bottle caps and recycling them into a specialized project for the outdoor classroom, and using social media to start a communication campaign to educate their school community on their health and wellness goals of their outdoor classroom and their sustainability initiatives. That is a well-rounded project. Way to go. So tonight, the award given includes a check to Ladue Middle School for $400, a certificate for the group who took on this project, and a glass trophy from the Third Degree Glass Factory made using only recycled glass. It's truly a one of a kind, and it's a testament to your guys' commitment, ingenuity, and innovation. Thank you so much. And I also wanted just to give a shout out to the school district as a whole. Ladue as a school district has participated in the Green Schools Quest for many years, and every school that's participated has won at least once. Conway Elementary, Spady Elementary, and Old Bonham Elementary have been doing this since 2023, Ladue Middle School since 2021, and Reed Elementary and Ladue Horton Watkins High School since 2019. The commitment to sustainability is strong and evident in this district. The teachers are well supported in their sustainability and student-led initiatives. Kudos to everybody. And do we have any Planet Protectors members here tonight? If you would like to stand.
While we're getting them organized, I'd also like to give a shout out to the LEF, the Ladue Education Foundation, for helping to fund the outdoor classroom for the Ladue Middle School. Let's give a round of applause for LEF. Can you step up? So we actually, while Laura's taking the photo, we have one of our past presidents of the Planet Protectors. She actually was a founder of this club, right? So she'd like to say a few words, if that's okay, once we're done with this photo.
Good job.
All right.
I want to start off by giving a huge congratulations to Planet Protectors for receiving this impressive award and making such an environmental impact on the Ladue community. I'm so grateful for this club and all of the people, specifically Mrs. Wallace, who have helped make this club amazing and successful. It's clubs like this and people like us who really care that make significant change. I know that this club will continue to accomplish great things in the future, and I can't wait to make our planet protecting community bigger. Also to the board, thank you for helping our goals become reality. As we endeavor to make district-wide changes, we can't do this without your support and can't wait to keep working together.
All right, and have another recognition. This one, actually, I'm going to turn things over to our superintendent, Dr. Whipke, who'll be recognizing another special group of individuals.
Thank you, Kimberly. Good evening. Our board members have set this time aside in the district to recognize individuals that have demonstrated extraordinary volunteer service and a deep commitment to the mission of our school community. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. These words beautifully capture the essence of all volunteers and all that they bring to our district. Congratulations to the following individuals on being named a school volunteer for this year. When you hear your name, if you would go ahead and come on up. And I know that President Rosen has a little award for you. And then once we get everyone on the stage, we're going to take one big picture. But our Volunteer of the Year for LECC, Natalie Seamus. Natalie. Oh, there you are. Hey, Natalie. Conway is Jen Duncan. Come on up. Got signs, we got balloons. Old Bonham, Jennifer Tuttle. Jen Tuttle, come on up. Reed, Caitlin Mathis. There you are, Caitlin. Spady, Jessica Payak. Fifth grade, our fifth grade center, Eric Collier. Come on up. Well, I'm glad we applauded him anyway, so thank you. And Ladue Middle School, Nanette Bell. And Ladue Horton Watkins High School, Will Dempsey. We also have another individual who I want to call to the stage who has given a lot to our school district community by way of her service on the Ladue Education Foundation for the last 2 years, Andrea Bazant. Yes, we can clap for her right now. Thank you. She has made a tremendous impact leading the charge to go above and beyond for our students, all of our teachers, and the entire school district community. We extend the Ladue School District Volunteer of the Year to Andrea Bazant. Let's give her another round of applause. To each and every one of you, your willingness to give so freely of your time, your talents, and service enriches our schools in countless ways. On behalf of myself, our entire school board, staff, and more than 4,200 students, thank you. And I'm going to come down and get in the picture.
I'd like to also invite the building principals to please join them. Come on, building principals, come on. If you could stand on the upper level. If you all, the building principals, if you could stand on the upper level, that would be great. Yes. The building principals and Julie Faree, yes. Okay. Wait. Come on, Julie. Where are you going, Marissa? Wait. Board president. Actually, come on, Board of Education. Come on, Board of Education, come on. This is your award. The entire board. Look at that group. Sorry. You came over too far, Jennifer. Go back. A little bit. Yeah. Thank you all. Board of Education, thank you so much for the generosity of your time. So one final award for this evening. I would like to invite Dr. Layla Crabtree to come forward.
Good evening. Ladue has a rich tradition of honoring excellence in education. I am thrilled that we continue this tradition monthly here at our Board of Education meetings. There is no harder job than that of a teacher. Those in education show up daily, selflessly giving their all in service to their students. Therefore, it is no small feat when a teacher's actions go so above and beyond to garner the respect of their peers. Our Excellence in Education program aims to recognize members of our certified staff who have gone consistently above and beyond for students, colleagues, and school community. Tonight, we are pleased to recognize Kara Moore, math specialist at the 5th grade center. Kara is an educator that champions our students that need it most. She makes math that feels impossible possible. This year, Kara has led her Building Professional Development Committee and served on the District Professional Development Committee. Through her doctoral work, she has helped me think through not only how to provide professional learning that is relevant, but also how to measure the impact that professional learning has on student achievement. The video will highlight the many reasons why Kara was selected for this award. Immediately following the video, Dr. Patricia Wilson will share more about Kara and her contributions to our school community.
Two, you need.
Kara Moore is our math specialist here at the 5th grade center. Kara Moore's high energy is contagious. She has a supportive spirit. She is always looking for ways that she can be of assistance in the area of academic performance.
Kara actually kind of has two roles. Very first thing in the morning is her with her accelerated students. And so she's that welcoming face for our 3rd and 4th graders who are coming in the building. She's also the math interventionist, so she's working at the other end, but she does the same thing with those kids. She's that welcoming face when they come in the classroom. She's pushing them. She is getting them to see that they can do far beyond what they ever expected.
Kara does an amazing job at being able to naturally cheer students on. As soon as they're ready to call it quits, here comes Kara cheering them on. You can do it. Remember the tools that we talked about, and before you know it, that confidence has increased and they're right back in front of the math problems.
I think sometimes she's just a real safe space for the kids. They feel like they can bring the questions to her and that they know they can trust her to help them with their math.
Her innovative instruction and differentiation lowers the anxiety of our students, especially those who struggle with math. We find that their confidence level has been increased this year because they've been taught many different tools that they can implement when solving math problems.
She's very intelligent and she's also very personable. So she inspires change in a really driven, thoughtful way that really motivates people and opens their minds to different ideas and thoughts and helps bring math into an everyday language.
She has taken a leadership role this year in leading a plethora of our professional development workshops in student engagement, executive functioning, and collective efficacy.
She's a great teammate. She is a great colleague to have here in the building. She is content knowledgeable. She's also knowledgeable in other ways that teachers need to be in order for all of us to grow, and she is challenging us to do that.
She deserves this honor because I'm always just impressed with the goals that she sets, not only for her students, but for herself. She's very concerned that the students have a good number sense and a good grasp of math. Is not just that they're able to turn in an assignment on time, that they know the theories behind what they're learning.
She truly cares about the growth and success of all of her students, whether they are her students who are accelerated or whether they are her students who are still trying to learn and be on grade level.
Congratulations, Kara. You deserve it. You're intelligent. You're hilarious. You're one of the most interesting people in the room almost all the time. You know that you live in the hearts of the students and your coworkers. So I'm so glad that you've joined us.
Hi, Kara. Congratulations on receiving the Excellence in Education for the 5th Grade Center. 5 years you've been here, but your impact goes far beyond that. But thank you, and again, congratulations.
Kara, congratulations on being awarded as FGC's Excellence in Education Award. You deserve this more than you will ever know. Keep making us proud, and thank you for all that you do for the FGC community.
Her makeup is too beautiful, so I am not going to make you cry. I'm not. But I will tell you, we had a staff superlatives that we just completed, and Kara got the educational learner. Like every single day, she is looking for opportunities to learn more. Kara Moore was also married this year, so she is a newlywed, so we also celebrated that. So hello, Mr. Moore, congratulations. One of the many things that we love about Kara wakes up, some fun facts. Kara wakes up early in the morning to run. How many miles do you run each day? It depends. Okay, she's being humble. But it could be 6 miles, 7 miles, 8 miles. So when everyone is asleep, she's up running because we open pretty early at the 5th Grade Center. She comes in with this beautiful smile. She's also a singer. So sometimes we get a chance to hear her beautiful voice. But this light that you see in the evening is the light that we see in the morning, in the afternoon, and when we end. She is consistent with her light, consistent with her love for children, and consistent with her joy to be at the 5th Grade Center. What a joy it is to have you not only as a math specialist, but also as a natural coach. Kara leads a lot of our professional development conferences. We've learned a lot about executive functioning because of Kara. And at our PDC meeting this week, it's like, okay, what are our goals for next year? She wants to make sure that everything that we do at the 5th Grade Center is done in the best interest of the student. So it was a loss to Rockwood 5 years ago, but what a great gain to the 5th Grade Center. So on behalf of the 5th Grade Center staff, if you could stand, please, if you are here, we would like to join in saying thank you, congratulations to a well-deserved honor, some students she sees in the back, on being our Excellence in Education Award recipient. Congratulations.
Thank you. I am gonna say just a couple of things, but you know what's odd is every other number. Sorry, I had to start with a math joke. I had to. But I do want to extend my most sincere thanks to Dr. Wilson, to Mr. Rutherford and the FGC staff, to Dr. McColgan, Mrs. Anderson, and Dr. Crabtree and CNI for their belief in me and the work that I do with the students and staff in Ladue. For my 3 years, it's only been 3, I know, it seems like I've been here forever, but in my 3 years with the district, I have grown to truly feel like I'm a part of the Ladue community. Together with my colleagues, we are building learning spaces where our students can thrive through thoughtful work around everything from best practices in our content areas to serving the diverse needs of our students to caring for each other. We are building relationships founded on expertise, trust, and vulnerability so that we can fully embody the spirit of this year's school motto: fail forward. Mistakes are honored and accepted. Learn forward. When we know better, we do better. Live forward. Each day is an opportunity, and we're dedicated to making it the best that we can. And love forward. We care for each other, celebrating wins, providing support when times are tough. Thank you all for the acknowledgement, but like an equal sign, I know I am no greater, no less than any of us. I passionately believe in our collective ability to continue to elevate learning for students in Ladue in an ever-changing world. I am so proud to be a part of this community. Thank you.
Can you join us for a photo? Can you grab your award? We'd like to also invite the FGC family to join her. And students, there are students here, please, the entire FGC family. Can the students go in front?
We can't see you. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
And then if I come out just a little bit, right there, okay. Wait, more people? Oh. Is that everyone? Okay. All right, ready? Can you see the young lady in the green? All right. Are there other members of your family here? Mom, Dad? I never argue with parents. Members of the Board of Education, thank you so much for your generosity with your time. And for all award honorees, please join us in the cafeteria area for additional photos that you may take with your family and friends. Thank you.
If you don't want to stay for the whole board meeting, although it's going to be a fun one, now is your time.
Hey, Tom Devitt, Dr. Devitt. I'd like to see him stay.
Dr. Devitt.
Hey, Dr. Devitt, will you stay? Will you stay?
Everyone except Dr. Devitt can leave.
That's right. Right.
I mean, my... Okay. Yeah. Thank you again to everyone who came, received an award, and to all the people who are behind the scenes who did not receive an award, we appreciate you. It magically got quieter. Thank you to everyone who remains. I appreciate you staying, even if you have to be here, which I guess all of you do. So, I'll do my thing anyway. As we come to the close of another school year, I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on the incredible dedication, resilience, and teamwork that has brought us to this point. I can't believe it's May, it's mayhem, May-December, whatever meme you're following. It's just a really busy time of year. This year has been filled with both challenges and achievements, and I'm proud of how our students, staff, families, and community have come together to support one another. See, all the people who wanted to hear this left. To our educators and school staff, thank you for your tireless work, your creativity, and your commitment to student success. To our students, we are proud of your growth, your determination, and all you've accomplished. To families and community members, your support continues to be essential in making our schools strong and welcoming. And to those volunteers who continue to give of their time, talent, and treasure, but maybe aren't seen as visibly as the volunteers tonight, we thank you. To my fellow board members, thank you for your thoughtful leadership, for encouraging conversation, and for keeping students at the heart of every decision. And as we look ahead and already begin to prepare for a new school year, let's carry forward the momentum that we've built and continue working together to ensure that every student has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you all, and we wish you all, especially our teachers, a restful summer, a disconnected summer, a summer of reflection and growth and all of the things you need to fill your bucket. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an opportunity to speak at every board meeting to kind of summarize and point out highlights, and I enjoy doing that, and I would definitely do that today. I know we've already had a lot of celebrations, but I would really be remiss if I didn't, and I was glad that Dr. Devitt did hear us and stayed, because I wanted to highlight Conway a minute, and there'll be a press release that's going out, but Tom, I did let the board know already. This entire board is incredibly proud of you, incredibly proud of Conway. And I know that you're sitting there, and I know you well enough to know that you're like, it's not me, it's all my wonderful, but you represent that, right? And I will tell you, you have a lot to do with it, because in no short time, with your first year, and for those of you that may be wondering what we're talking about, is that Conway was just named a Gold Star school. Yeah. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, what identifies a Gold Star school? And I know our Board of Education already knows this, but I'm going to say it for our community. A Gold Star Award is designed to identify schools that are performing at a high level academically or making exceptional progress. The National Blue Ribbon School program and the Missouri Gold Star Schools program utilize the same criteria for nomination in order to recommend a school to the Commissioner of Education, who, by the way, visited us just a short week ago. As a Missouri Gold Star school, the school must meet the nomination criteria as outlined by the U.S. Department of Education for the National Blue Ribbon Schools program, and then compete in the National Blue Ribbons Schools application, which I know Conway has. The National Blue Ribbons Schools program recognizes schools whose students achieve, again at a very high level, or make significant progress in closing the achievement gap. The Blue Ribbon Schools program sets a standard of excellence for all schools striving for the highest level of achievement. By receiving this Gold Star recognition for Conway, Conway Elementary will be one of 8 Missouri schools nominated for the National Blue Ribbon Award. And we wish you and your entire faculty and all of the Conway community the best of luck there. So thank you for your leadership, and thanks for staying. Okay, I have just a few more announcements to make. And again, I want to thank all of our incredible volunteers, Kara, for the wonderful job she does. She's doing currently at the 5th grade center. Ladue simply would not be Ladue without the love and dedication of all of our teachers and volunteers. Well, Board of Education, Can you believe it? Can you believe that we are about at the end of our school year? It is upon us, and what a year it has been. Be on the lookout for the Link newsletter. And Kimberly, remind us, the Link newsletter, when can people expect to see that? Is that June? So at the end of June, you'll get a Link newsletter, and I know that's always one of my favorites because it highlights all of the wonderful things that have happened over the 2024-2025 school year. So we're excited about that. And graduation. So no pressure to you and your department. The end of the year is a time of celebration, ceremonies, and of course academics, including high-stakes testing. I'd be remiss again if I didn't mention how often I find myself walking from campus to campus, smiling as I walk the campuses, as I cheer on, whether it's to be a lacrosse game or I saw the night of percussion, which was absolutely phenomenal. It leaves me, not only it takes my breath away, but it leaves me smiling at the job that our students and our teachers do. And speaking of teachers, just last week we celebrated National Teachers Appreciation Week. So it's not too late to give a teacher a hug or a high five for the job that they do. And with that being said, what's the culmination of all of this? What's the culmination of the year? We are incredibly excited for this Sunday's 2025 graduation ceremony. It will be held at the Chaffetz Arena, and it begins at 2 p.m. The class of 2025 has been an exceptional class, and we will truly miss them. All right, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
We're very clappy today. Lots to celebrate.
Appreciate that,
Lots
Jen.
to celebrate. Thank you, Dr. Whipke. Are there any committee or school liaison reports? We've just done a little bit of a reorganization, so I'm not sure if any committees have met in the interim.
I'll make a report. I don't think anyone I'm going to report to is still here. But I was going to say Marissa and I closed out PDC this year. Jim leads. For those who don't know what this committee is, and I might be wrong, but for Jim's time here in the district, he's organized a committee that monthly one representative from every parent organization comes and presents both what's happening in their school from the parent perspective and also receives feedback from administrators and a little bit from the board about what's happening globally. And it's a really great connector of volunteers to the board and to the administrators and to big district goals. So I was going to say on volunteer night, I would just want to say that all of our buildings we now have I've witnessed for a couple of years are filled with really dedicated volunteers from top to bottom. And I know that we recognize one tonight from every building, but there are so many volunteers that could have been equally able to receive that same recognition tonight. So they're not here anymore, but anyway, so that's the end of my committee report of PDC.
And I thank you for giving me credit for that, but I inherited that.
I thought so.
Yeah, and we've tweaked and changed it, but it is an awesome parent group. So thank you for that.
Any other reports? Pablo, you have a report?
I do. I was able to attend the 16th annual LASA brunch put on by the high school, recognizing the achievements of specifically Black students in the district, specifically at the secondary level, at the high school and middle school level. This is, I think, the second year. It was both a culminating event of both the middle school and the high school. After some significant work done many years ago by our own Dr. Tiffany Taylor Johnson and her husband, Ed Johnson, to create that environment, to create that space, create that celebration. It's a beautiful event, packed from here all the way back to the far windows. The celebration, the joy, the love, the accomplishments were present. Look forward to the 17th annual celebration next year, and certainly expect they'll be online and in this room to be present for that.
Can I just add to that, Pablo? I appreciate you recognizing Dr. Tiffany Taylor Johnson, but we had Annette Hayes and Solomon Knight. Solomon's obviously at our middle school, Annette's at the high school, and I will say that the LASA brunch was probably the best one that I have been to out of all of the ones that I have, and I give them a lot of credit for how they organized it. We had a lot of kids there. I mean, there were a ton of kids there. Kimberly was there. It was, yeah. And who was your favorite student that was there? Tristan, yes. And I will tell you, Tristan is an outstanding student. Well, he's president of Saab. I'm giving you an opportunity to give a shout out to Tristan because we love him so much. But president of Saab, and he's involved in a lot of activities. We know he's involved in a lot of sports, but he's involved in a lot of activities. So you and Ed are doing a wonderful job with him. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? Okay. At our June board meeting, we'll likely have a lot of discussion of end-of-the-year celebrations and graduation, and we'll talk a little bit later in the meeting about who will be representing the different buildings this year. So, is there any public comment? Nope. Okay. Before we move into our consent agenda, Amy Hammerman, our new board member, has asked to be excused from this meeting. So, is there a motion to excuse her tonight?
So moved.
Thank you, Pablo.
Second.
Thank you, Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And hopefully everyone's had a chance to review the materials in the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve those materials as presented? Or those?
So moved.
Thank you, Peter. Second. Thank you, Jennifer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, as I just referenced, the committee assignments for the board. We just want to make sure that we're going over this publicly. And of course, my sheet is not opening because my computer is slow. Yours won't open either? Is yours open? I do want to use it. Thank you. No, my agenda's open. I need this document.
I don't know, maybe it was spent.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't have the document.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes if you talk to it,
Come on, little computer. Okay. It looks like it might be a system issue, so we're going to come back to that.
maybe we refresh.
We'll refresh. While we're working on that technology issue, can we move on to the West Campus Field reconfiguration bids? Sorry, that was a mouthful. Thank you, Dr. Macy.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to present the bids for the second reading for the FGC field reconfiguration. So our first reading was on April 9th. We shared that reading with the high school parking lot addition as well as the renovation, which was approved at the second April board meeting. And we are now at a point to revisit the West Campus bids and talk through some of the additional opportunities that we had bid out when we sought the base bid originally. One thing I do want to note is since that April 9th meeting, the base bid has increased by $251,600, and that's directly correlated with additional stormwater management measures that we have to put in place. Based off of the addition of the Becky Sauerbraun Field and the West Campus Plaza restrooms, it did create an increased calculation for the stormwater, so we did have to add some additional work there. So the base bid is $4,781,600, and that includes the 8 tennis courts, the turfing of a one singular multi-purpose baseball, softball field, and then of course all of the dugouts and all of the amenities that you would see with a normal baseball and softball field. The additional amenities that we had bid out simultaneously, and we'll go down the way they're listed. The second one was a concrete tennis courts. So the base bid included asphalt tennis courts, similar to the tennis courts that we have at the middle school. Those tennis courts are certainly a high quality, but there is an opportunity to increase not only the what I would say the level or the degree of the court, but it would provide some durability, and it would extend the life of the tennis courts. And that would be making them concrete and post-tension, where you actually have reinforced concrete that you're able to tighten those. You know, we're not going to say that there wouldn't be any cracking, but it would certainly reduce the cracking and extend the life. Not only that, it would provide a top-notch facility for a top-notch tennis program. Our tennis program, both boys and girls, has been tremendous over the past several years. The other opportunity that we have is to add an additional turf practice field right next to the new multipurpose field. What that would do, and speaking with our high school activities director and our high school principal, it increases the opportunities. So when you look at sports like baseball and softball, you have your field, which would be in use for hitting and or fielding, or it could be varsity, and then you have a lower level that you want to address. So adding this additional turf space would truly create additional opportunities for our students here at Ladue to expand those programs. The other thing it would do too is it would provide us an opportunity if we had a scenario where we were playing back-to-back games, where we had, maybe the freshmen are playing or the JV's playing and then the varsity's playing after. It would provide ample space for teams to warm up and prepare for the game so that we could stay on schedule and move right into those games. So the amount for that one, we didn't have the amount at the time of the first reading, but the amount for that additional turf field would be $372,000. The other two that we talked about, the additional restroom would be a two-unit restroom, so we would actually have two additional opportunities to use the restroom down at the lower level as opposed to going up to the West Campus Plaza. When you add plumbing in an area of that nature, even though it wouldn't be a large structure, the amount for that would be $375,000. The other one was a press box. Adding the press box would be approximately $110,000. What I will say is in terms of prioritizing these from a high school standpoint and really focusing on the programs and looking at some of the needs and understanding that, being fiscally responsible and operating in a budget is important. When talking through this with the high school, the way they prioritize these additional opportunities, they listed the concrete tennis courts first to the tune of $350,000. The turf field, the additional turf field to the amount of $372,000. And then really what they said is the restrooms would be a luxury, but based off of the additional restrooms that we added already at the West Campus, that they felt like if something needed to be removed from the project, they would be okay with that. And then the press box, there's not a lot of press boxes in the St. Louis County area. Without the giant scoreboard and the sound system and all those other amenities, there just wasn't a sentiment that there was a need for that press box. So that was another area that the high school felt really could be removed from the project. So really the two that they were advocating strongly for were the concrete tennis courts and the additional turf field. So what we would ask tonight is that at a minimum, if the board is ready to move forward with construction this summer, we would want to approve the base bid. And then if there were any alternates that the board wanted to approve tonight, what I would do is I would go back, add those into the contract, and then produce the contract for Marissa to sign tomorrow or Friday. We didn't want to draft the contract for the total amount without knowing if there was any opportunity to add in those alternate bids.
Ask a quick question. The lights, the potential for that is not included in the base bid.
So the potential for that is not included in the base bid. What we would like to do is continue that conversation once we start what has been permitted. So with the idea that if we want to add conduit without filling it with the electrical for the wires, we can have that discussion at the June board retreat, and we can add that in. Because
so there'll be a cost associated, but the cost associated with the conduit to potentially add the lights is not included in this.
It's not, and the cost of the conduit would be minimal.
Okay.
When we look at, we don't have the final numbers, but if we were going to add lights to every field, we would be pushing that $1 million threshold. To add it to a field and the tennis courts, we would cut that number approximately in half.
Okay, and there's nothing that we would be approving tonight that would prohibit, I don't know enough about I'm not an electrician, that would prohibit us from adding that conduit, physically speaking.
No, even permit-wise, we can add the conduit. There are several schools in the area that were built years and years ago that buried the infrastructure that have yet to be approved for lighting.
Okay.
As you shared, there aren't many neighboring districts who have press boxes, and I know it can sound like an unnecessary extra. Do we find, has everybody voiced that there would be any benefit to having said press box? It's a finite cost, it's a one-time cost. It also seems like the upkeep of the space wouldn't be as significant as for other structures we've moved forward on. So I'm just curious if other peers have shared a benefit in the short term or long term to having a press box.
So I apologize for that. I meant to say that most schools don't have a press box for the baseball and softball field.
Right, that's what you said. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't. So I'm
they
curious. Right, so most don't, but I'm curious if there's any benefit to having one, or if anybody shared any benefit.
You know, just having been around baseball for a long time,
Yeah.
you know, you see them at some of the older fields the summertime where you might have an announcer, where you have that true community sentiment, where it might be a smaller school, smaller community that maybe has a Legion baseball program. I have not seen a ton of utilization with the press box. When you get into that spring activity, you know, a lot of times the scoreboard is operated from the dugout. So the home team manages that and a team manager, so you don't see a lot of additional volunteers that I would say would be servicing amenities from a press box.
Okay, thank you.
When you were giving the high school sort of thoughts about the press box, you mentioned that not having the big flashy scoreboard or the speakers or whatnot sort of says, well, if you don't have X, Y, get Y, I guess is what the argument was. Are we missing something with X? I think what Pablo was getting at is this, is it a forest for the trees, or are we don't want to come back and do anything additional in the next several years. And I'm definitely not saying that we should spend money that's extra that we don't ever reap the benefits from, but are we not making this as future ready as we could with one-time expenditures that maybe aren't as large as right?
So I think that's a great point. You know, I think what you would see is the evolution of the baseball scoreboard via Misha now just mandates that it has 9 full innings in it, and that it includes a pitch count so that they can make sure that the pitch count is transparent. So again, I would say, you know, future ready, you know, really understanding what the future looks like, but we have been focused primarily on what is required through Misha, what is it that's recommended by the high school. And when you look at scoreboards, digital boards, and lights, that takes on a different connotation from a zoning perspective. So adding a video board would require additional volunteers, additional staff. The black box or green room, whatever we call it, the high school was one of the first places I visited when I was hired here. It's remarkable, the people up there that run that system and run that setup. Just typically, we don't see that type of production or that type of opportunity for that type of production in those baseball and softball sports. Not saying that we couldn't, but it just wasn't something that we thought about when we were designing the project.
I have a similar question, but just as it applies to the bathrooms. And so since this would cater to high school softball and also high school baseball, I imagine with any desire to expand the Junior Rams program in either of those sports for middle school kids or even younger, once again, is it sort of helping to kind of future-proof us for growth in that part of the facility, since it is a little bit of a walk between there and the new West Campus Plaza? Is it something, I mean, and I can imagine that the 5th grade center or the West Campus utilization will only increase. I mean, is that something where, you know, we're going to get our money's worth out of it, but it is just, if the high school had to sort of triage their needs, they laid that out for you?
Yeah, I think they said it's an opportunity, but they see it as more of an opportunity beyond the first two that we mentioned. The one thing I will say is that, adding square footage, adding restrooms also adds responsibilities in terms of cleaning, in terms of who's going to clean them, who's going to open them, who's going to close them. If we do rent the facility on a Saturday, who's going to be responsible for opening and closing those restrooms? So I will tell you that we are working through some of that now with the existing structure that we built. But I do want to point out that if we add them down there, we're going to have to add them to our maintenance cycle as well. Depending on the size of the structure, we may have to take equipment down there to clean those restrooms. So they're just different scenarios that we have to think about when we look at that facility. And, when we look at the restrooms that we just built, from an architect standpoint, from a construction standpoint, it definitely meets the needs of the facility itself. So adding them, again, would be a great opportunity. I just think the high school would prefer to focus on the playing surfaces that are going to directly impact the students.
Have there been any conversations yet with LEF on this project or even any kind of future athletic improvements? Because, they obviously were involved in helping to fund the West Campus Plaza. Is that a path we would look at here, or is it simply we kind of decide what is needed now and then if we wanted to involve them?
So these projects, this project in the high school, were identified through the facilities planning that we did to kind of reinvent that list after Prop R and Prop L was completed. So no, we have not visited with the LEF on any of these projects.
I'd offer as well, I think that, not to misspeak, but I think we've also asked LEF, and they've seen opportunities to support kind of environments, opportunities that are going to advance what's at hand. And what you shared in our questions was, or what I heard in response to our questions was, the press box wasn't something that seems it's going to be particularly advantageous for students in extracurricular growth. In the restrooms, I also, as a facility guy, there's lots of, even the non-season maintenance and preparation during winter seasons, et cetera, I certainly wouldn't see that being something we'd invite LEF into when they've done so much to find opportunities to jump us forward in places where we wanted to grow.
Yeah, and I would say too, in this particular project, we worked with the board at the last board retreat last year to transfer the funds from Fund 1 to 4. So we've already captured these funds. So the funding for this, you saw it tonight. We'll talk a little bit about it, but we moved it last year not knowing when the project would start. So we've made a budget amendment to move that budget into the next year's budget. So for this particular project, we've already solidified the funding for the project.
Thank you.
So based on what I'm hearing and what I think our questions have led to, is that the recommendation is to approve the base bid plus the concrete tennis court and the additional turf practice field and not the additional restrooms in the press box at this time. Does that?
I guess the only other open question was, did we want to pursue conduit outside of just one field in the tennis courts? Is it going everywhere, or is it kind of sit on it and wait and see what Creve Coeur says?
So from the conduit perspective, what we would like to see is to get the work under contract so that we can begin the mobilization phase and working through those schedules. Because we really want to get this project completed before the end of the calendar year. So the conduit, I think we talk more about that at the board retreat, because that will not be a significant add in terms of a monetary cost. It will give us time to really see what the actual numbers would be to add the lighting, because any lighting conversation would be a conversation that we would have in the fall as we're doing the other work. So if we do want to move forward with lighting any of the fields or the tennis courts, we will need to re-engage the city of Creve Coeur from a planning and zoning perspective.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I thought, were lights already approved for the tennis courts, but not for the fields?
Lights, we've not approved lights anymore.
Oh, sorry, it was a Creve Coeur council member or someone who had sort of just kind of made like a casual comment to that effect.
That is the case, and I think that there would be, maybe more of a willingness to light the tennis courts if we were willing to provide an opportunity for, say, timed lights, where a community would have access to that beyond those daylight hours. That was really just a second.
So Jeff, let me chime in here, because I think there's a couple of levels here, right? Putting conduit in does not mean Creve Coeur zoning and planning would approve the lights. It just means that someday we could have that. So on June 4th, when we have our board retreat, we're going to look to you all to say, yeah, get the conduit. That's not that much time from now. So Jeff can easily say, hey, the board approved conduit. Then once you run that, we have plenty of time to go to the planning and zoning at Creve Coeur to get approval. And then that approval might look like, hey, if you're going to do it on the tennis courts, this is a period of time you can only have it turned on. So what Jeff is kind of proposing here is based upon the 4 options and giving you feedback what the high school said. If we have to make cuts based on those additions, please don't cut 2 of the 4. If the board says, hey, no, we think press box is something we would like, or we think the restrooms are one of the, then you have every right to do that. However, I would take the recommendation right now that Jeff has done his due diligence with the high school. We are trying to be as fiscally responsible of the taxpayer dollar, yet give an awesome facility. And I think we are going to have an awesome facility, having a practice field and making sure that and you guys have all lived this, right, that our tennis courts aren't cracking, and that we put the correct amount of rebarb in there to make sure that happens. So I think that I don't want anybody to be under the false illusion that if we don't say anything about conduit today, we won't get lights. We can definitely add that. Jeff just needs to get this ball rolling so that then we can add that and have that conversation on the 4th with conduit.
Are there any more questions for Dr. Macy? Okay. So again, based on what I've heard and the consensus, is there a motion to approve the base bid from Byrne & Jones in the amount of $4,781,600 plus the concrete tennis courts in the amount of $350,000 and the additional turf practice field in the amount of $372,000?
So moved.
Thank you, Keisha.
Second.
Thank you, Jennifer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it on too high?
No, I think it's good.
Yes, I'm going.
They think it's good.
I got it. Nope, we didn't. We couldn't get it to open. I got it. Okay. So up on the screen, you'll see the, and it's linked in the agenda as well, the 25-26 board member committees and school assignments. We, as board members, signed up for the schools and committees we wanted to represent via Google Docs, but we wanted to make sure we shared this information with the community so that if you had a concern, a question, wanted to know when a meeting was, you will know who your board representative to that school or that committee is. So I'm just going to go down from the top. And if there's any questions or anyone needs to make a change, now's the time to do it. It's not on the board yet. It's coming. There it is. So we have 4 board advisory committees. The first is curriculum and instruction, which will be served by Keisha Lee, Amy Hammerman, and Jennifer Soshnick. Facilities and finance will be served by Keisha Lee, Peter Garapy, and myself. The legislative board advisory committee will be served by Keisha Lee, Peter Garapy, and Robert Snidman. And the Student and Community Services Committee will be served by myself, Jennifer Soshnick, and Pablo Flynn. So any questions on those board advisory committees? Okay. And just putting it out there, if you have any interest in being on a board advisory committee, you can certainly let us know. Other committees that have a board member that attends, I will be by myself on calendar. Oh, Pablo is going to join me on calendar. I don't have to be by myself, but I was.
We have a commitment from Dr. Crabtree. I think she made a commitment to me that we're going to move the time of that. Okay.
That's
for attendance purposes.
Great.
so I don't drive off the road, but it seems like it might be Pablo driving off the road.
Nobody drive off the road. The diversity committee will be attended by Amy Harriman, Robert Snidman, and Pablo Flynn. The high school student advisory committee will be attended by Keisha Lee, Peter Garapi, and Amy Hammerman. The LEF will be Keisha Lee and myself, continuing on in our attendance there. The middle school student advisory committee will be attended by myself and Jennifer Soshnick. Parent district council, Amy Hammerman and myself. The policy committee continuing to be admirably led by Jennifer Soshnick, and Robert Snidman will join her there. The village will be attended by Keisha Lee and myself, and the wellness committee will be attended by Robert Snidman and Pablo Flynn. Any questions or changes there? Okay. And then every school building has a liaison that is their board member who attends their events and is kind of their champion up here to announce great things that are happening. So LECC will be served by Keisha Lee. Conway will be served by Pablo Flynn. Old Bonham by Robert Snidman. Reed, shockingly, by Peter Garapi. Spady by Amy Hammerman. The fifth grade center will also be served by Pablo Flynn. The middle school by Jennifer Soshnick, and I will be staffing the high school. And then we have three organizations that we have elected representatives who are delegates to that board, to those boards. So for the Missouri School Board Association, our delegate is Keisha Lee, and our alternate is Pablo Flynn. And for the SSD Governing Council, which I believe Keisha Lee is the chair of, will obviously be Keisha, and Pablo will be her alternate. And then our Ed Plus legislative liaison is Dr. Whipke. So, and then at the bottom of the screen, you can see when everyone's term ends. So that's just some more information for you. Any questions about this document? Okay. Is there a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
What? Oh, it's under action. That's why I said that. Oh, it's been announced. There's no vote needed. Okay. Sorry. Fern's getting it. Fern, you're done with me, aren't you? It's almost summer, you guys. Okay. And the district goal update, Dr. Whipke.
Yeah, I can make this fairly brief. I do want to remind everybody that on June 4th, we will have a new set of district goals that we will be working towards. Doesn't mean that the current goals of 2024-25 are completed. We are working on any changes that we feel like we need to make. Cabinet is working on that right now. Some of the changes might be very slight. Some of the changes may be a little bit more, what am I trying to say? Thank you. Substantial. Thank you. And then as we go through, we've tried to keep around 6 or 7 because if we get more than that, it can get a little bit overwhelming. I do want to point out we have shared out our goals for 2024-25 with our board before. We will give another copy of that. Perhaps maybe we can do that in the weekend update just so you can refresh yourself, because there is a section in there for the Board of Education, right? And it's Board of Education initiatives and priorities. So we have our district goals, but you also have goals. A lot of times those are just tweaked a little bit here and there. So I wanted to highlight that. And that can be a conversation that we have on our June 4th board meeting, or even a little bit later after that. I do want to highlight the 24-25 school year goals. I give 2 updates, just for Robert being new. I give 2 updates a year on this, and then obviously take any questions that board members have throughout the year as well. On our first goal, it really deals with being future ready. So that connects to curriculum. It connects to coursework work that we offer. We also had conversations last year about market value assets and initiatives, that would directly connect to like our Catalyst program. You've seen our Catalyst program really grow. The Board of Education knows, because we've had to add staffing hours to our Catalyst position. We now have a full-time Catalyst teacher that's leading into the 25-26 school year. You also have been part of this goal in terms of hiring STEAM teachers at the elementary school. So we're excited about that and that initiative, and that directly connects back to this goal. And then under Dr. Crabtree's leadership, she's really changed the core data team meetings with teachers, with principals, and with instructional coaches to be honing really in on the students' specific needs, individual student-specific needs, to look at data. So those were just 3 real quick highlights I thought I would mention. As we look at our diversity, equity, and inclusion work, I've mentioned this before. We've had presentations on this, but I will tell you that I think Dr. TJ and Jen Rizmi, the work with No Place for Hate has been really huge in our district. It's been really impactful for our students. So that's an initiative that we're really proud of that directly connects into Goal 2. Again, I mentioned core data team meetings as well, but I think that's making a difference. I also want to highlight the fact that we do more after-school activities than we ever have before, creating a sense of engagement with our students and a sense of belonging. And then Pablo mentioned this with LASA, but our affinity groups are thriving. There's more kids in our affinity groups than ever before. The district, the third one is dealing with community education. I think Derek's done a really good job of communicating with us on that, but we are offering more community education activities than ever before. And you think about where we've come in the past 2.5, 3 years on that initiative. I'm not saying that one needs to go away, but that one may be tweaked and changed just a little bit because we've made a lot of progress there. And looking at our early childhood expansion, this is one that we probably will have to look to Derek and his department and seeing where we want to go, because we have expanded. The board has agreed to scholarships. We have proven that to be successful at Old Bonham and at Spady. And now we're looking at the possibility of do we start to dive into a transitional kindergarten, which was originally talked about simultaneously with expansion of the pre-K. So we're going to have that conversation, and I know that we'll be bringing some of that to your attention again on June 4th at our retreat. When you look at safety and security measures, this is probably one of the areas where we've had the most progress in, but we made upgrades to Centegix, as you've already were aware of, and we were actually able to work, Tim was able to work with the Centegix company that we got those upgrades for free, which was awesome. We are in the middle of transitioning to OpenGate. That has taken some time, but OpenGate is a deterrent. It's a weapons detection system. We've already used it at high school events, sporting events. We are getting ready to transition into it being used on a daily basis as the students walk in each day. You know this because you approved the budget, but safe haven film on all of our windows to keep our kids safe, and then strategically placed in certain areas that we think could be based upon research potentially where an intruder would try and strike. Developed and implemented a behavioral risk assessment tool, which has been used quite often. Our MERP system, which is the attachment to our phones, the app to our phones, I should say. It's been through a reintegration process. It's been reintegrated. Update to our emergency operation plans. School and district crisis teams, and then I definitely wanted to highlight this because I know it's something that Jeff had mentioned to me today, but the addition of assistant principals have really helped because they're on a crisis team. Almost done here. I just had a couple other things I wanted to mention. The facilities, we completed Prop L, right? I know you guys were hoping to do, have Jeff come up here with another SM Wilson update. We got one more. Okay, he said we got one more. But one thing I did want to remind you all is that over the summer, we did have $5.7 million of windows that were put in, if you remember that. So that was quite an accomplishment. That was directly connected to Prop L, but it was outside of the Prop L budget, but it was originally in there, and we were able to make that happen. And then we did go through the facilities committee, updated facilities plan. That updated facilities plan includes what you just heard Dr. Macy talk about at the 5th grade center, but it's also the high school parking lot. It's also, a hiring of a design team for a new admin center and what that might look like. So I wanted to highlight that. And then lastly, I wanted to talk just a little bit about our mental health and wellness initiatives that were directly connected to goal number 7. Excuse me. We're looking at ways to continue to support our mental health through curriculum changes. So that overlaps into Layla's department, our MTSS structure. We have really used the panorama data this year to try and make adjustments. And then we're looking at focusing on teaching practices that directly connect and support not only classroom engagement, but mental health and wellness. And I did give this information to you before, but our sense of belonging over the year, we had an increase from 5% with our 3rd through 5th graders. We had an increase of 6% with our teachers. School climate, we had an increase of 11% with teachers. Non-teaching was 7%. Parents and guardians was 4%. And then diversity and inclusion efforts, our 6th through 12th graders improved by 7%. We definitely are not there. We haven't arrived, if you will. We do have a lot of work to do. But I do want to thank the board, because the board has a huge voice in this when we set the district goals. And I do want to say one more thing. The reason you don't hear us talk a lot about a strategic plan, we do have a strategic plan in place. But when you look at the huge document that makes up a strategic plan, you have to pull things out of that strategic plan and use it so you can get something accomplished throughout the year that's more attainable. And that's what the district goals have become. Sorry, that was a lot, but I wanted to at least touch base on where we're at, and I'm looking forward to June 4th.
It's going to be a very fun day, you guys. The agenda is packed. Bring your good attitudes and your willingness to be in the library for a long time.
Peter loves it, he said.
We all love it. Okay, Dr. Macy, roof replacement for Old Bonham, FGC, and the high school.
All right, good evening again. I get to be the spokesperson for this item, but this truly is the work of Mike Noonan and his facilities department. As Dr. Whipke talked about the facility goals, one thing that we don't talk a lot about is just the long-term maintenance and supporting the district in terms of ensuring that things are replaced before they fail. If a roof fails, then now not only do we have to replace the roof, but now we have to address ceilings inside or any contents that may be damaged from that water damage. So Mike and his team have done a great job. We saw through the facilities planning phase of outlining all the different roof sections across the district, labeling them with numbers and updating that grid, ensuring that we're addressing those roofs in a timely manner. So this particular project is scheduled to come out of this year's capital budget. So we will begin the work this summer, and we will pay for it out of this capital cycle. The total cost of the project ended up being $412,000, $412,500. Mike put this project out for bid. We had 5 bidders that came to the pre-bid meeting. All 5 bidders submitted qualified bids. It's always nice to have that competition, and it's great to see because we can ensure that we're getting the appropriate pricing. Of those bids, it shows that Taylor presented 3 qualified low bids for each project, so Mike's team bid it out by location. It does make it easier too that Taylor won all 3, provides us an opportunity to save some in the mobilization cost as well. So this is the first reading. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them, or I'll have Mike step up and provide the technical explanation.
Any roof questions?
I'll ask a very quick roof question. The Old Bonham cafeteria, so that is not a new roof because that's one of the spots in the building that didn't get touched. So it was like a renovation from the walls and the floor, but not to the roof.
So
right? 4 years ago.
Correct.
Okay. So there's a new roof adjacent to it in the gym. That's new, right? Okay. So this is in the last couple of years. It was at the time that we couldn't foresee that. I guess I was trying to picture where, because that's a new space, but I guess the roof is
a renovated space with a.
That's a renovated space in the last couple of years, but the roof wasn't renovated.
Yeah, and we'd have to go back and look with all of the value engineering that we did 4 years ago when the numbers came in at $7
Got
million.
it. That makes more sense. Yeah.
I can't say with 100% certainty that was the case, at that point in time.
Yeah.
It could have just been not identified in the cycle as well.
Any other questions? Okay, we will look for this in action next month. Thank you. All right. The counseling program and SEB presentation, Dr. TJ, and thank you everyone who stayed. Come on down.
All right, good evening. I know you guys have sat through many presentations this year.
We are very
and
excited to hear this one.
we have saved, I would say, the very best for last, which is this dynamic presentation from our K through 12 counseling and social emotional behavioral team. Our K through 12 counseling and SEB team they're really, really excited to share with the Board of Education an update on their work. You're going to hear information about the growth that we've experienced as a result of the Hatchings Partnership, an overview of tiered counseling supports, department highlights, and goals for future work. Presenting tonight will be our counselor lead, Sarah Carpenter and Jasmine Peterson, members of the SEB team, Ashley Hill, Stephanie Chappie, Danielle Green, and Maggie Travers, and one of our college and career advisors, Dr. Diana Redden, and I'm sorry, Dr. Sarah Carpenter. And we also have a member from our team here in support, along with our favorite member, Jag. Where is he? Okay. And I would also want to draw attention to our other counselors in the back who are here supporting us. Thank you all for coming tonight. We all worked collectively on this presentation, so we're really excited to be here. All right, next slide. Oh, all right. This one? Okay. Oh, point at you. Okay. All right. Just wanted to show a picture. We try to take a picture every year just to build community and showcase our team. And this year, Jag, as you can see, photobombed the picture. We have an outstanding team, as I mentioned, of 23 individuals who support the students in our district, 1.5 counselors at each elementary, 1 at the 5th grade center level, 4 at the middle school, 5 counselors at the high school, and 2 college and career advisors. We also have 4 members of our SEB team. We, again, want to thank the Board of Education for the recent addition to our counseling team, and also for the assistant principals, which you all hear about quite often, because they also, having them in their role allows our counselors to do the work that they need to do. And the additional counselors that have been provided have also allowed us to shift supports in each building. Next up is Dr. Carpenter.
Hello, good evening. I point this way? Okay. All right. So something that a lay person in the counseling field might not know is that counselors are prepared under a model of school counseling. There's the national model, and then there's the Missouri model. And it is a comprehensive school counseling program that consists of 4 areas that captures all of the activities that we do to promote our student success across college, career, academic, and social and emotional. So those 4 areas are in the blue. So responsive services, that's the meat of what school counselors do. That's our individual counseling, group counseling, crisis counseling, consultation, and referrals when a situation is tier 3 or needs to be clinically addressed, we'll refer out. Then we've got individual student planning. That is a lot of our transitional activities to promote students from one building to the next, one grade level to the next. It's our college and career, it's our ICAP development, it's sitting down with our students year after year, speaking to them about their passions and their trajectory and what makes sense for their academic plan. And then school counseling curriculum, we have our own curriculum. So we partner with a lot of other outside providers through our MOUs, through our district, but school counselors deliver a K through 12 scope and sequence, particularly in the areas of social and emotional. And that was a big piece to our work in terms of how much time we're spending with our students. We can feed more in one class than we can individually. So Tier 1 classroom lessons is a big part of our weekly delivery system. And then all of behind the scenes things that school counselors do, system support. Tonight is system support, presenting to the Board of Education, right? The preparation for this, data tracking, program evaluation, refinement, community outreach, and understanding the needs of our students, understanding the needs of our community. That all falls into system support. So those are some of the key components, and there's a evaluation tool that we use as school counselors to ensure that we are in alignment with Ladue board policy, which says that 100% of our counseling program is fully implemented using this model. So the last time our counseling team was here, we reported on 23-24 goals. So we wanted to just briefly touch base with you around the progress we made towards these goals. This was really at the height of our partnership with Hatching Results. So just highlighting some of these pieces, we continue to advance on these goals and they will drive our future work, but we are much more strategic around our Tier 2 implementation and action plans. We're tracking more and more student data to ensure that the appropriate intervention is linked to the student, particularly around Tier 2. Diversifying our social emotional supports within our schools. An example of that at the middle school is building out modules for students as they receive in-school suspension to try to reduce repeat infractions of in-school suspension, and then partnering with our counseling team and our assistant principals to have restorative conversations about what skill could you have applied next time. We've had a significant reduction in our repeat infractions across students. In the elementaries, there's been a very large initiative around sensory rooms and diversifying the opportunity for students to take brain breaks and sensory breaks in those spaces and have them universally available to all of our students. And then we continue to have program reviews. At our last K-12 PD day, we evaluated our program and discussed what non-negotiables and what action steps we'll take across our curriculum planning next year and the year after, which is continuing with the work that we've laid a foundation for with Hatching's Results. And then a very large focus that continues across our counseling program is family and community programming, and just how can we piggyback off of all the efforts and engage those partnerships across academic, social emotional, and college and career. All right, next up, some improvements since the last time we were here. Just highlights specific to elementary, middle, and high. A lot of data tracking to inform our interventions. We are continuing to showcase our work as school counselors. It's often that people don't exactly know where we are or what we do in the building because we're running around doing all the things, but we need to share that. And so we like to share that with end of the year highlights, weekly, monthly newsletters, and then elementary really worked hard to align their Tier 1 scope and sequence around college and career exploration. We've had a lot of building-wide initiatives that speak to that. At the middle school, I spoke about the repeat in-school suspensions and increased effectiveness of using our data to support what interventions are matching our students. And then at the high school, additional Tier 1 lessons. They've really focused on teen mental health programs there for 10th graders in partnership with a MOU through Prevent Ed. And they have a fantastic first-year pilot data to support that 77% of students that received that training reported that they could provide help to a student during a mental health crisis. And we rely heavily on our students to, if they hear something about their peers, to say something to us. And that's from K through 12. That's our mantra around that. And then continuing to look at our monitoring systems for students' wellness. So the SABRs, we look at risk indicators across social, emotional, and academic, and ensuring that students that pinged as at risk have follow-up conversations with our counselors and have interventions in place.
So the big focus of No Place for Hate, the school counselors had a role in the impact of rolling that out in every building. So that looked very different for each building, but there were student initiatives for each building and how the students were able to partner with admin and school counselors to help roll that out. I know data was really big and a big important piece of that, and the students took the time to be able to review that data as well and be able to talk about how it can be rolled out and implemented. School counselors also took a major role when it comes to rolling out those lessons that were attached to that. Specifically, I can speak for Reed. We were able to also implement that with our SEL universals that we are creating within the building to add in that No Place for Hate pledge within that process as well. But the biggest thing when it came to school counselors' role is really supporting and implementing and also reinforcing what that looks like throughout the school year, because kids forget, right? So we have to reinforce and use it as teachable language within the classrooms and the community.
We never really remember the flow, you know? So here we go. Next up, me again. So you've seen this triangle presented to you in a variety of ways, right? It's very much MTSS, and then we use a triangle a lot in school counseling. Right? It just shows what's universally available for all students. And then we get up into tier 2. Those are targeted interventions that we would assign to some students. And we get up to tier 3, really personalized, intentional, intensified supports dependent on what challenge is existing for the student across academic, college, career, or social and emotional. So we wanted to highlight significant work from K through 12 and our district SEB team with this tiered support from every K through 12 building. So we're going to start with universal. I think you're helping me on this one, Jasmine. Yeah.
Yeah, so for tier 1 that we kind of talked about when it comes to school counseling curriculum, so for K-12, we have a curriculum that we follow for every single building, and so that is that tier 1. Everyone's getting that. And also when it comes to those MOU partnerships come into the building as well. Excuse me, I'm kind of reaching into tier 2. But with that universal of those yoga lessons that Miss Maggie Travers also helps implement within the buildings as well is a big part of that tier 1. So that tier 1, everyone's getting that love.
So just to highlight the way that we depicted this data, 65 different topics across K through 12. So like we got conflict resolution, we got inclusivity, we have recognizing, understanding in others, right? All sorts of different topics in our scope and sequence. Across K through 12, there were 1,252 counseling lessons taught across 65 different topics, right? So just breaking out how we shared that data. And then when we get up into tier 2, each of our buildings are working hard to track our counseling visits. That looks a little different from middle and high school because we do have like a counseling center with an administrative assistant at the front. For our K through 5.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to that actually. For our K through 5, students can be referred to the counselor, parent referrals, admin referrals, students can come themselves, or they have, each building has their own process, how students can refer themselves, of course. Elementary, that can get kind of crazy with the girls specifically, so we have to make sure that there's a process for that. But when it comes to that problem solving as well, it breaches up into that tier 3. But we also utilize problem solving meetings in our buildings to be able to utilize and identify like small group interventions or solo interventions as well. But we use a various of data to look at that. Sabres is one of them. That's a really big piece of data. Maybe student support car logs is a very big piece of that data as well.
So K through 12, collectively, our counseling department clocked 6,480 plus because the year's not over, right? So we put this data together in the last 2 weeks. I'm sure we have hit 7,000 in the way that our building's kinetic energy is flowing right now. We have also offered 63 different small groups, and small groups can range from 2 to 3 students up to 6 to 8 students. So if we expand that, just thinking about how many students we're touching when they need us in those moments. And when we get up to tier 3, this is very individualized, almost case management around the interventions that students need. So our school counselors, except for the high school, case manage 504s, so our support plans for students with disabilities or suspected disabilities. Across K through 12, school counselors led and facilitated 347 504 meetings this year. Across K through 12 special school district referrals, we created 102. and then individual students who receive services. This number is depicting the students that receive services through CHADS, Prevent Ed, any of our outside providers, Annie's Hope, grief counseling. Ms. Danielle will speak more about our MOUs, but 189 individual students are receiving those Tier 3 therapeutic supports, right? A little bit outside of the scope that a school counselor would provide in the day-to-day of the school that might require clinical or therapeutic services. So we just wanted to highlight that work and show you the range of support that our students are receiving.
All right, good evening. I'm Diana Redden. I'm one of the college and career advisors. So Tier 1 for college and career advising, we're really excited to roll out school links that will cross both middle and high school. Mr. Stidman, I know you're familiar with Naviance. Naviance, we are moving to school links, and we're really excited about that platform. In just the last few weeks, this new platform has already been used by our school grade level counselors to help students complete their required annual ICAP, so the career and academic plans. It will also help kind of bridge the gap with academic planning side and post-secondary. So on our slide here, you can see the progression of the Tier 1 college and career activities, 9th, 10th, and 11th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, ICAP, and the completion of the assessment in school links, as well as the walk-in Wednesdays that we have. That's Tier 1 effort, Tier 1 programming. In the 10th grade, we have our curriculum night where we talk with our students and families. And then 11th grade, we have our advising meeting. And then my colleague, Mr. Chad Sisk, and I meet individually with families and students 11th and 12th grade. So 11th grade, in between AP testing right now, the busyness of that, we are still meeting with our juniors and our junior families. I'm proud to say that we've met with 220 plus individual families and students between February and May, and we've had over 760 students stop by our office, 767 to be exact, for our walk-in Wednesday, asking us questions, and that is 9th through 12th grade. And I'm also happy to say that we have had over 130 college visits that have come to Ladue from September through now, through May. So from near and far colleges are visiting us, and we're continuing to increase our touch points with our community, with all stakeholders, both parents, guardians, students, and alum. I forgot I'm doing this. So data-driven Tier 2 college advising based on data and analysis policies, procedures established by Hatchings, which was mentioned earlier. Our partnership, the following supports have been implemented. We are now doing group advising through leads. We meet once a month with our leads students. We talk a little bit about budgeting, post-secondary, whatever that may look like, 4-year, 2-year, military, gap year. We've also met with our Ladue Opportunities programs. We consult regularly with our school counselors and SEB team to assist with any needs that need to be met by students. If it's a student that we have not spoken with, that we need to get an update with, we do a very good job with working with our school counselors and following up with individual circumstances and needs. In terms of parent programming, we continue to speak at our parent university. We've also spoken at the SSD Parent Advisory Council. We talked a little bit earlier, thank you, Mr. Flynn, about our affinity groups. So thank you to our district for sponsoring another successful HBCU trip. We took 12 students, sophomores and juniors, to Howard University and Bowie State. For some of these students, it was very special. First time on an airplane, first time out of St. Louis. So appreciate offering those opportunities to students to have that idea of post-secondary.
Okay. All right, so for parent and family programming, so of course, home to school connection is very important, and it takes a village to raise a child. So we have, of course, our parent universities. This year, just a couple of the topics that were talked about was that AI in education, which is really big right now, and ramping, and also that social emotional support when it comes to supporting families and students at home. I know LMS also had their navigating middle school emotions as well for one of theirs, which was really awesome. That college and career alignment, finding ways for parents to be able to expose their children to college and career activities outside of Ladue. But also for elementary, we're still trying to find some great ways to be able to bridge that gap as well, to find them, to help them have opportunities outside, to get them that early exposure, because they are talking about it, they are learning about it, and they're hearing it from adults. So I know that we've also had like families come in to present as well about their careers, which the kids really love. For, we have elementary flip nights, opportunity for like a make and take nights, opportunity for families to come in to learn activities and skills. Specifically, we were able to showcase an opportunity for parents to create sensory rooms at their homes or calming corners. Also for the advisory councils, that's a really big one, having that community liaison pieces. Some parents are also on some of those boards at the advisory councils. I know, Peter, you're on our Reads Advisory Council, so thank you so much for your support. But just identifying those stakeholders, finding ways for people to hear their voices in the room, but also parents. They, a lot of times, don't even realize what school counselors are doing or how much of an impact they have as well to the school counseling program.
So now you're going to hear from our SEB team. We are really excited about the work that we're able to do as a team. It's sort of like a bridge between curriculum and instruction and also student services. We are collaborating, and our team does a great job supporting the counselor. So I'll have Ashley start off leading.
All right. We're going to skip a few slides. You all can read all the fun words on the paper at some other time. But we each do something that is so different. So we have a team of 4 of us, but each one of us, our day looks different, our roles look different. So if we could really focus on individually what that looks like. I am looking at that systems piece. So my primary role is to look at what do we have in place for all students, not just social emotional, but also academics. So similar, you've seen this, we've presented this exact graphic multiple times. So this year we added, I can't go backwards apparently. Huh? The small one? Oh, perfect. Okay, this year we borrowed from the counselors, and we looked at what we all provide from a tier 1, 2, and 3. All of us are in all 3 of those areas. If you look, we added Maggie's SEL lessons, which were also included in that counselor, so we've had that opportunity. We have Stephanie and I are often getting called over to do a lot of kind of student crisis individual planning, so we spend a lot of hours doing that. We do some small groups. We run, Stephanie's helping out those teachers with the SEL lessons. So we all are kind of filtering through those 3 tiers, supporting our counselors as much as we possibly can. Primarily this year, I am focused on the MTSS. So in our strategic plan, that is a goal that we have. And this year we have been able to collaborate with the SSD CEIS team. Don't ask me, they stand for some sort of a service that they're supporting with a system. It's myself and 2 other women, and we are working together weekly, and then we brought together a district-led MTSS committee. So currently, we are evaluating our current needs. We did a needs assessment. We're looking through all of our systems that we have and trying to find gaps and strengths. Growing, so each of those areas of the individual components, we have a goal that we're going to try to reach. We have action items for each of those goals for next year. Within that, I also am working through the SABRE system. So whenever our kids take those SABREs, I meet with each building and we talk through, what do your scores say for the whole grade level? We may need to put an intervention in place for individual classrooms. moving into small groups and into individual students. So as we see, we have some areas of at risk, and so when we see that, we start trying to think through why, and then we put interventions in place, we put plans in place, contact parents, we tap into our MOUs, we tap into the 4 of us and our individual counselors. So this year, primarily focus on those systems, and I know that next year we're going to be growing those systems even more than we're currently doing, and I'm super excited about our MTSS work this year and our action plan that we're going to be moving forward to within next year.
So my role as the behavior interventionist is a unique one in that I bridge a lot between Tier 1 and then our more intensive types of needs. And so over the last kind of 2 years almost, I've been working on these regulation spaces. And I know you've already heard about them at Reed and how amazing and some of the progress that we've had. And really the purpose of these regulation spaces is to allow students to regulate their emotions, to de-stress, to learn to self-regulate. They are places that allow students to learn and practice these skills so that we can take them out of the regulation spaces and into our classrooms, into our hallways, into our own lives. And the reason I'm using a regulation space is because these spaces change as students change. So at an elementary, it is very much what I call co-regulation. When we go in there, you are going in with an adult who is helping you to work through the different activities in there to model what regulation looks like. By the time we get to fifth grade center, though, it is going to be a transitional year. And then when we get to middle school, the goal is hopefully students will be able to go in, access the things in the room, there's support in the counseling wing if they need it, but then that can be an even quicker, less time out of the classroom. So currently, Reed Elementary, huge kudos to this building and all the work that they've done to put into this sensory room. But from last year alone, they've increased 340% of that room usage. It's very exciting. I'm also thrilled to announce that we will be having regulation spaces at both FGC and LMS next year. And so we're in the initial phases of those implementations. There's going to be a lot of work that's going to happen over the summer. And a big shout out to our LEF for supporting that with a huge grant to help us get all those materials necessary. So that's been a huge component of my year this year. It's almost like 70 hours worth of work already. But then there's a whole nother side where I have had the opportunity to help bridge between C&I and student services. So we are using the Marzano framework to help us become better educators. And in doing that, Ashley Hill and I worked a lot this year. We aligned our current Ladue social emotional learning checklist for classrooms. So that's what we they're like, think of it like essential skills or best practices in the classroom. And so we align that language so that when student services is talking about what we need to see in classrooms to help support kids, it's modeling what they are hearing from C&I. So that's been a huge component. There was lots of professional development that I led around that. And then I've also had a lot of opportunity this year to deliver lessons, and those lessons are anywhere from pre-K all the way up to the high school. Those lessons reached 156 kids. The other thing is that when we have students who I like to call have an immediate need for support, those are those kids that we are dropping everything to come in and develop a plan. Although the number of students that we are coming in to assist with are few, they require a lot of hours. So there has been a lot of time this year in those support plans, but all of the students that we've written plans for this year have shown a reduction in their office visits and their time out of classroom. So the work that we're doing is really important.
All right, if I can figure this out. Nope. Middle button? It's vibrating. Okay. I'm going to be short and sweet. I just want to highlight the kind of framework for school social work practice. I actually went to the National School Social Work Conference this past April, and this was something that they just added in, and specifically the gray area, but to think about how broad school social work can be and all the things that we need to keep in mind when
working through student and schools' well-being and reaching out to those families. I do not like public speaking, so as much as all of our teachers do. I just want to highlight a few of the main things that we have done this year, which is the Holiday Happiness Program. We have supported 91 families, which totaled to 172 kids. And as we are seeing, that is a 13% increase from students and families that we supported last year, and just really showing that the need for those types of support have increased as just the economy and our world are changing. Really, my role is individualized. I spend a lot of time pretty much in Tier 2 and Tier 3, providing individualized support for students and families and removing any barriers for our students and families to access the school. Every day looks different. I'm often out in the community meeting families, taking them to doctor's appointments, connecting to resources, and then really working through our MOU partnerships and with our counselors to identify students who may need a little bit extra support, who may not have access outside. I think that's something that we also like to keep in mind when referring students to those outside resources, is access and equity, and really making sure that our numbers align. So that my district goal is to really collaborate with our community partners and to remove those barriers for student success. I think that's, and then really our community partners I want to highlight, I don't know if I made it on there. Monarch is a new agency that we are going to be partnering with next year to provide some resources, and we also started back with Kids in the Middle this year. As you know, grant funding can be difficult at times. A lot of our agencies lose funding and staffing, and so maintaining those partnerships and really making sure they feel a part of our community is something that takes a lot of time and coordination and relationships. So I do spend a lot of time doing that, and I think that those partnerships are really beneficial for our students.
Good evening. This is Jag. You know, you've already seen a picture of him. I just have to give a shout out to Dr. Whipke and Dr. Wallace, who were instrumental in bringing Jag to the district. It was kind of a long road and a very interesting process, but thank you all. He's done some amazing things so far, and I'm excited about what he still can do. So I spend a lot of my time in the classroom. I teach the students SEL yoga lessons. And the reason I'm so passionate about it is because, I mean, research shows when kids can regulate themselves, then they can be more focused on their academics. So I haven't found a great way to survey the students and the teachers. So I'm still experimenting, but I do like to hear from them about what are they noticing in the classroom, what are they seeing from the students, and most importantly, how is it carrying over into their self-management and their academics. So overall, you know, they've really seen an increase in their focus. They did say anywhere from 15 minutes up to an hour, they've noticed after a yoga lesson that kids can stay more focused on their schoolwork, which is pretty exciting. However, I'm only in there once a month. I did train teachers on having calming spaces in their classroom so that with the skills that the students are learning, that they can hopefully use them. And the goal is for them to learn how to use these tools and manage themselves. So even students, and they also said that it's helped them really with their stress. We have a lot of stress with our kiddos in our district. So that leads to, you know, because I'm only in there once a month, the district has been very supportive of this work continuing, and they are paying for 11 more teachers to get trained over the summer. It's called Breathe for Change. It's an amazing organization that focuses on educators and educators' wellness. And so they are taking their own time over the summer to do a 200-hour training, and they all will be certified yoga teachers, but they will also learn how to help teachers build these practices in the classroom so it becomes more of a regular practice and not just once a month. Because as soon as I leave the classroom, you know, kids forget what to do. So this will be a really great way for teachers. And there's also the home connection as well. So it focuses on students, staff, and our families. So there's our wonderful group of teachers that are going to be trained. That other pictures, I was experimenting a little bit this year of doing class or grade level yoga in the gym. So it actually worked out really well. I was pretty surprised. And then with Jag, he's been great to have. And not only just it's fun to have a dog at school, like some people think, Jag has really been able to help some students. It's been amazing. Well, some days we've walked into a building and there's been a student crying outside, and the minute they see Jag, you know, I'll take them into the room, tears dry up within minutes, whereas if it was just me, it might take a little bit longer. He's really made some really cool connections with some students. I always love to have some survey data just to kind of see, okay, how are students and staff perceiving JAG? Because I'm only in each elementary building 1 day a week. So keeping that in mind, teachers still said about 78%, that JAG is used appropriately. And the kids really look forward to seeing him at school. 51% said JAG's made them feel happy, and 48% said that he's helped them feel calm. I also work with students individually, so JAG has had extra visits outside of my individual and group time. My students that I see are usually based on the SABRS data, and I also do a lot of pre and post data along the way. So overall, about 73% of all the students I've worked with have increased their SABRS score by their spring benchmark, which was pretty exciting to see. A few of the interventions that JAG has been involved in, one that I just love this year has been pretty exciting. I'm working with a teacher at the 5th grade center and with a small group of students, and they set up JAG's mat and his water bowl in the morning when we come in, and we have a communication notebook that we have, so they might ask JAG questions, we write back and forth. We're helping them work on their speech and their communication goals. And so they decided that they wanted to make Jag some dog treats. So they made him a recipe card. Each student made their own recipe card, and Jag got to pick which recipe he liked the best. And then they made the dog treats for him. So they made a whole presentation for him. And it really is just so fascinating to see the interaction with them and him. And one of the students who didn't really have a lot to do with Jag in the beginning is now sitting right by my side and petting Jag while we're doing these lessons. So it's just been so rewarding to see the benefits that Jag has had on a lot of our students. So I'm hoping to experiment even more and find some different ways that Jag can be used in a social emotional capacity. Thank you.
Yeah, step around him. No, all good. He's relaxing like all of us want to do. Just to wrap up, we just wanted to highlight that all of the initiatives, the progress on our goals, the way we work together across Tier 1, 2, 3, in our buildings, K through 12, and our district SEB team is very much in alignment with our district strategic plan as well as the Missouri School Improvement Program, right? So we pulled out just collective commitments that we very much use to guide our work, apply the use of MTSS, create a comprehensive school counseling program that addresses the needs of our students. And that is also in alignment with the MSIP 6 initiative. So we will continue to have that in the back of our minds and the front of our strategic plan as we move forward with our support.
All right, our last slide is just wanting to share with you the next steps that we have identified for the department in moving forward. And this comes from the result of us, our conversations that we have. Also, as Sarah mentioned, their program review, data that they have, analyzed. There's been conversations with students. There's been feedback that we've gotten from parents. So these are things that we have identified that we want to work on as a K through 12 counseling team. The first is, as you've heard a little bit about, we are working on vertical alignment with our college and career focus, and also utilizing the new School Links platform. I feel like the team is really, really excited about this new platform, and our elementary schools are also involved in this vertical alignment as well. We have some plans for this summer to do some work in this area. We also plan to increase our parent and student engagement. As you've heard this evening, we're looking at, enhancing and growing our touch points with students and families. you've heard about our School Counseling Program Advisory Council and the monthly and weekly newsletters as a way to have that parent engagement and also get feedback from the stakeholders, and expanding that and making sure we're making that a part of our practice in each of our buildings. You've heard about program evaluation and improvement. It is always, we're working to find that balance between our roles as counselors, but also having to do some of the things that are not necessarily a part of their job as counselors, but talking through ways that we can streamline processes in that area. As you heard, we've also discussed focusing on individualized and targeted student interventions through the MTSS process, streamlining our data, the way that we're collecting that data. We're gonna be, next year, putting data in EduClimber collectively as a department. So that is going to give us some information about, that will help us better determine the supports that we provide for students, staffing needs, and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of work that's ahead, and we're excited to do it. And thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much. That was, as a social worker myself, so happy to see all of the amazing work that that your team is doing, and everyone who's here. You guys are really on the ground with our students who are in the most need, and really, I'm really impressed. So thank you so much. Are there any questions?
I had two questions. First is a statement. So as a special educator for a number of years and an educator by trade, there used to be these signs in schools. They say, like, we're counselors and social workers and teachers and parents. And as teachers, we're not. We're not certified to do the work that you do. You see kids and families at their worst and at their best. You took the time, you took the schooling, you've taken the initial and the continued credit hours to be able to do the work that nobody else, aside from our esteemed colleague here, is certified to do.
I'm not licensed.
Well, at the point she was licensed. I offer that because all of the accolades that we talk about, that the students and the staff outside of all of you hit in this district, are because of the work you do as well. So understand what you do is incredibly important to the success of this district. I say that in so much as we could have watched another 45 minutes to an hour and it still wouldn't capture what you do and how incredibly important it is to this district. And I was also started teaching when counselors were an extra as opposed to being an embedded part of what we do. And I appreciate you. I would offer, I don't want to misspeak for the board, but I think we all value what you do and how the board has been able to support the work that you do every day. I would ask this other thing. I used to do a lot of de-escalation training, and I'd offer, you do heavy work, so I hope you find time in the summers, on breaks, on the weekends, to be loved and loved by the people around you, whether it's your dogs or your plants or whatever time you need to take to make yourself whole, because you do heavy work. I want to offer this as well, because I think it came up as you were sharing. I think we shared that the girls got to get a bit crazy. I think we said the girls got a bit crazy at the elementary level. And it was said kind of in jest, because I mean, certainly I was a middle school principal, and often the girls, had stuff to talk about. Cool. But I offer this question because I think what we didn't say is the boys come running to the door. And so it's equally important to say, how do we recognize when boys who may not feel as comfortable speaking or coming to us with an issue? But I fully believe that you are watching hallways and you listen for teachers to hear when are boys needing that same thing. And I would offer that same thing for especially boys of color in terms of what they're needing, and how we reach out might look different than the way somebody else does. And I'm sure you're already doing that, but I would offer to also look at the demographics of who's coming to us. As well, we're a population in a school district that is incredibly diverse. We've had a significant increase in families where English isn't a primary language and those learners. And again, how do we make sure we're reaching out to those families and looking at those students whose identifiers of support need may look different than somebody else? You're doing incredible work. I appreciate watching what you do.
I'll ask,
No. You are green first.
Because you just want me to follow Pablo, because it took it off you.
Yeah, no, please.
I'm not going to be as eloquent, but blessed to follow Pablo. Blessed to follow Pablo. Okay, a couple questions. One is sort of, you may not have an answer, and you may say that's just kind of like a theoretical question that I'm throwing out there, but, and I'm not going to jump into the anxious generation per se, because that's a whole, we could be here for, like Pablo said, for 4 more hours, but along the lines of activities that are being escalated outside of school, not only social media or technology, but just the kids growing up in a different environment socially because of those things, even if not directly related. How has the nexus to the school day sort of changed as practicality in the last 5 years? I know we hear that thrown out a lot as, and I'm kind of looking at the middle school, I'm looking at the high school, I'm looking at the district level a little bit more than the elementary buildings in terms of activities that activities that are truly social and emotional hinders to our kids, that are, the nexus is getting, I would think, bigger, and how that's being kind of applied. I know it hasn't been redefined because it's sort of a theoretical concept anyway. If anybody wants to, it's something I think about, or if it's sort of too much of a.
Just want to clarify, you're speaking about like risky behaviors that a teenager might engage in outside of school?
Yeah,
that
or
bleeds
bullying, or things that happen between or amongst peers, or peers' parents, or at a peer's house, whatnot. But and how that kind of changes. I mean, even if it's not directly related to social media, how the environment of social media has sort of escalated activities differently, and there's more activities happening. In the last 5 to 10 years that would be nexus. Yeah.
So we field way more concerns than you might think. Parents will call and say, hey, this happened in our community last night. I don't know who to report it to, but I just want you to know. I don't even know what I'm asking you to do with this information. And then we have to process that as a counseling admin team of, we have to identify is the school disrupted by this? Is there harm caused? Is that walking into our building? What's the impact on our students today? Right? So we have to go through some sort of consideration, triage process. And if it's disruptive to our students and our students need support, then we are providing the support. So we look at that from a very proactive lens, right? I think a lot of the No Place for Hate, a lot of that initiative has spoken to inappropriate identity-based bullying that would happen in digital spaces or in schools. I mean, a significant increase of that has occurred in the last several years. Our K through 12 scope and sequence speaks to conflict resolution, identifying when your friend is in need, not just bystanding, but upstanding. Today at the middle school, we had a restorative circle in every class around intent versus impact, right? So we're looking at those skills that don't just exist digitally or individually or in person, that we can promote across all of the strands to then be able to get back to the root of, this was a conflict for you, somebody was harmed, what can we do to repair the harm, what could you do to apply a skill on the next time that you encounter this. So we continually look at not just our data, but our anecdotal data, and like what is our emotional temperature of our students, and how can we increase those supports in those areas. So it's all ongoing.
I kind of feel like, and I'm going to let you go because I don't want to drag it on. I kind of feel like, and I didn't say this right, do you feel like you're reaching further in an anxious generation time to find a nexus because it's the right thing to do for the kids than you were? Does that make sense? Like, do you feel like you're dealing with more things that occurred outside of school, whether it's technologically speaking or otherwise? Then has the nexus gotten way bigger, or did I just imagine that? Yeah.
Monitor.
But it's more, I would assume it's like significantly more. It's like more of your day is spent on those nexus to the school day than even you could have probably said like that's really what I'm saying. So that's quite a lot to sort of balance. To Pablo's point is that you are not, that is layers and layers and layers, like 24 hours a day of things that you have to be arm's, length from. So I just want to point that out too, that I think in this anxious generation, it's just has multiplied your workload of. Yeah, I would, yeah.
I mean, and I'm just speaking speaking just because I actually spent I've collected data about almost 17 hours of my time dealing with group chats from fourth graders specifically. So I know that is severely ramping up to the point that it has impacted when it comes to bullying, cyberbullying.
Yeah.
And so yes, I have had parents
Yeah.
call me frequently this year, a lot more than normal, about things such as that. And so I actually was partnering with a former colleague in Clayton School District about what are they doing with their technology department also when it comes to lessons just to implement for Tier 1, specifically for the elementary level. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that I actually have kind of been reeling my mind around.
Yeah.
Because it has impacted some of the
Third
time.
through fifth is a really
Yeah.
good time to introduce that, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. Over the years at the high school, I would see kids falling through the cracks sometimes who hadn't met with a counselor. Can you walk me through what's being done now to avoid kids who are 12th grade going out into the world and somehow manage to avoid having a meeting with a counselor for what comes next?
All right, so second year for Ladue, but 11th year as a school counselor. And one of the big conversations we've been having a lot this year is, especially with me being newer, is shifting culture. So helping to break down the stigma about going to the counseling office, having conversations with kids to normalize, hey, this isn't just for, I'm having a really big mental health concern, or I'm really struggling academically. Those are the two things that they think require a counseling visit, and often it's, what did I do? Am I in trouble? And unpacking why that would be the response if you are called down. Helping them understand that we do so many things in trying to normalize their experience of coming and checking with us, but breaking down some of the concerns or fears that they have from even their peers of if they are, I had that conversation with a senior recently where there was concern of like, I've been meeting with you for a while now, I don't want my friends to know. Well, first of all, that's confidential, and second of all, what's wrong with utilizing your counselor that all 1,400 students in our building actually have access to, and how do we make ourselves more visible and more comfortable for them to be able to feel like they can access. So definitely are aware that there are students falling through the cracks, and even some of the really, really, really high achieving students that look like they don't need us, I've learned need us most. Our department has learned need us most. So not just coming down to have the conversation about schedules, not just coming down to have the conversations about post-secondary planning, but how are you as a person? Because there's a lot of focus about how you're doing as a student, and you're not just a student to us. You're a person first, and then a student. And you're not gonna be an okay student if you're not an okay person. So some of it's visibility, and a lot of it is normalcy, just normalizing the fact that we are accessible to everyone, and therefore the breakups, therefore the, hey, this person is looking at me weird, therefore I didn't get into the college of my dreams, therefore everything in between, and also really partnering with parents who are, to your question, when we're getting those social media, the things that are happening outside of school, partnering with parents, because a lot of it isn't, we were all nodding back there, a lot of it isn't happening in this building, but impacting the kids that are in this building, and some of it we can't manage in ways that we would want to, but we can help equip parents with the tools to be able to do it outside of school. Hopefully they answer.
Keep tapping in.
I would also add that as part of our curriculum planning, they have been looking at ways to proactively get into the classroom and being creative given the schedule by working through a seminar to be able to proactively interact with and put things out there that our students need to hear from them.
I'm up. Does anyone need a restroom break before I start my list of questions? No, I mean, so our district is wonderful. And our most wonderful resource is the people, particularly the trained professionals that are in the classroom, that are serving the kids. And so where I'm coming from is how can we lower the barriers between those wonderful resources and better connect them? Because Jasmine, you said, and you're absolutely right, it's news to parents, most of the things that counselors are doing. And I had the privilege this year, along with Keisha, of being a member of the high school advisory council. And every kid in there is a star. I mean, these are like, I imagine they're all high achievers academically, socially, like then they're putting this on their plate too, on top of any other extracurriculars. And they were even voicing that, I wish I could talk to my counselor more often. And when I look at this, defining tier 1, 2, and 3, I can imagine if you're one of those kids, you're like, I don't want to take up the space for a kid who may be in tier 3. Like, you don't want to call 911 for something where maybe you could get yourself to urgent care. You don't want to take it away from someone else who may really need it. And that seemed to be sort of the pervasive attitude. And one of the things that, and I don't know if this happens, if it can happen in the scheduling with older kids, but I thought was brilliant, certainly at Reed, because that's where I get all my information, but what they would do like counselor lunches. And so they would have like 5 kids at a time, and you didn't have an option. I mean, granted, if you're in kindergarten or first grade, you're just going to go with the flow. But like, it was, no, you're having lunch this Wednesday, you and several other kids with your counselor. And, it's what the counselor would order a pizza, or you just eat whatever the school lunch is that day. And you would talk, and you couldn't get out of it. But it was a very low pressure situation. It was not like, well, why was I called down here? What did I do wrong? It was, hey, you're having lunch, we're all having lunch today, let's talk. And it was meant, I think, wonderfully to really familiarize those younger kids who had never had that resource. And I think that's where, and I really appreciate, Diana, I reached out yesterday with just a number of college and career questions. And I think it really is, we have all these wonderful resources, and I think sometimes they get siloed in the buildings. And I think it's, that same kid who's a kindergartner now is going to keep on moving through, and one day they will be on the stage like so many are this Sunday. And I hope this Sunday is wonderful for everyone, but if you don't really have a plan, if you're not sure where you're going in the fall, or you don't know how you're going to pay for it, that's going to be terrifying, because life is a very difficult place after high school. You don't have the sympathy that you have when you are still a student. And so I think that's where I come from we have so many wonderful resources, but once that kid crosses that stage, there's not nearly as much that we can do. So I think it's where can we leverage the wonderful alumni base we have, from young alumni all the way through to the older ones who still remember Reed as Little Ladue, because I have to reference that. And we run into them around the community, people who adore this district, who if you said, you went to my dream school, I would love to write a letter of recommendation, if only I knew. And so I think there's just so many wonderful resources we have, and it's how can we connect them better and then lower the barriers between them. So that way, you're a 5th grader, oh, I need to take this course in 6th grade, so I can be in this course for 7th grade, 8th grade. So then I can take the AP course that I need to take my junior year to be eligible for this school. But that runway starts 5 years earlier. And so there's so many wonderful resources, and I think it's what can the board start to do to lower the barriers between strengthening those connections? Because the expertise is there. And it's what can we do to make it easier for you guys to make that graduation day, excellent for everyone, to remove any anxiety?
You have several questions within
I've got tons of pages, I tried to summarize it.
I'll just give a little bit, and then I'll have Diana share, but much of what you talked about, we have identified some goals for in our future work. We also are really excited about our School Links platform. It has lots of resources and tools that will be able to help us enhance that area. I will also say that some of the things that you have mentioned are currently happening, and it's for us as we are continuing to work to tell our story more and ways that we can engage parents. We have had conversations around that. So I'll let you kind of speak a little bit more.
Ditto to what Dr. TJ said. We meet once a month as a team, and so K through 12. So we're working on alignment so the work is being done, and when you saw the 25, 26 goals, that is a goal. So check. We're definitely listening, and we're looking for ways for that parent engagement piece. That being said, we want we want high schoolers when they come here to be high school students. We want them to get involved in clubs and extracurriculars. We want our middle school students to find their passion, to find what they enjoy doing. And then traditionally, junior year, sophomore year really starts sophomore year with our curriculum meeting, and then 11th and 12th, planning out those post-secondary goals. Mr. Sisk and myself, as I mentioned in the slide, are trying to have various touch points, as I mentioned, with our leads, our ops, UJMA, our student government. So we're trying to have those various touch points, because as you said, when graduation comes, we want to, when we see every name crossed, okay, I know that student, and that student is going this place or that place. So we are working on that. That work is being done, and we're looking forward to working with you and the rest of the board with any ideas and suggestions, because we're open ears.
No,
Okay?
thank you. I mean, because
No, thank
it
you.
touches every kid in the district, and you guys do work that, and I'm so glad you highlighted, that other people can't do.
Yeah.
If you don't have your specialized skill set, that it can't be done. So please do not be shy about letting us know how we can support the entire department, because it's critical.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just mentioned about the anxious generation, and so sometimes we don't want to add more anxiety. We want to make sure that students are kind of flowing with their grade level, enjoying it, learning their passion. I have a colleague that says, you don't major in high school. This high school is where you're learning, you're making friends, you're joining clubs, and that's what we want. And we are available and willing to talk about post-secondary. And like I said, we have our walk-in Wednesday, we have our college reps, we have our military, we have the options available to students. Talked to a number of students actually this week, 9th graders, about summer programs. Like, do it because you want to do it, you enjoy it. Not because necessarily a college, that could happen, yeah, that'll look great, but we want them to kind of develop their passion and their interest as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
So I'd offer this to Peter, to your questions. So Maggie and I were working together in the district 10 years ago, and I would ask Maggie, I think that we've known that there was no SEB team as it stood at that point. The high school counseling team has grown by 25%. I believe the middle school counseling team has grown by 25%. So as we talk about game-changing initiatives, et cetera, nothing that our counselors, social workers, school psychologists are doing, nothing's been taken off their plate in the last 10 years, 15 years. Everything's been added to. So as we talk about safety, security, all those other things that involve personnel, I would offer the district, if we want to talk about it as a board, talk about what personnel goes to support the work that's occurring. So that would be a game-changing initiative, is adding to the SCB work that's being done, the counseling work, the social work that's being done. But that's how it continues to change, because there's a dedicated folks working both ends of the candle often enough, but human beings only have so much capacity. So the work's being done. So that's something we might want to talk about as a board, because I would offer that would be game-changing in a way that's different from asking them what they can do, because they're doing everything all the time.
Is one of those, and this is mostly for my own information. I know that counselors deal with so many administrative responsibilities. Is that to allow you guys to increase your capacity to focus on the things that only you can do? Is that kind of if we're kind of looking at a pie chart and you only have so many hours in the day, could we cut the biggest piece of pie out of your day if we were able to shift a lot of that administrative work over to someone who doesn't need a specialized skill set to do some of the things that fall on your lap?
Well, I think, hold on.
We're 8:24, but no. So something that we do as counselors is we track our time, right? We can't tell you enough about our student outcomes and the touch points that we have without also having our time tracked to tell you where we're spending our time. And our time can be spent inequitably. And we do a great job at determining, like, okay, we need to direct services I mean, there's recommendations. DESE has recommendations of like 30% of your time is spent here, 20% of your time is spent here. We could get into all that, but we look at that across our district, across our levels, and we often advocate for non-school counseling duties to be taken off of our plate. And it's a balance. There's not enough people to do the work that we're doing, but we use that in our conversations around the scope of what a school counselor does. We'll continue to advocate for those areas. If you'd like to learn more about that, I think a lot of our counseling department would be very open to conversations around the data that we have in that area.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Streamlining some of our processes too, and part of our data, us putting our data in EduClimate, we recognize that we also need to be able to show what we need through data. So working as a department now to put our data into a system and identifying what our work is and why kids are coming to see us. Also doing as you can see, there was a lot of data intentionally put in here. They do one-pagers. They look at how they are spending their time. And so part of it, again, is telling their story.
Thank you.
I'll just add, I have comments, not necessarily a question. I think I was very glad to hear all of the work that you all do. And I know that you are the people part of the people that are most important to us, which is our students. And you're looking at the whole person. And I think that if we look at what education is being required to do now versus what has been in the past in terms of meeting the needs of students, especially their social emotional needs, we have increased that by leaps and bounds. I think post-pandemic, even as we were coming out of the pandemic, we had conversations pretty early about making sure that emotional supports were in place. And we were ahead of the curve for a lot of districts that are still trying to play catch up. So I just want to personally say thank you for the work that you do. I thank you for even focusing on those students who we see as high achieving and seeing that their high achievement also comes at a cost. The stress that many of them are under, and we've heard that because they're taking a full load of AP classes, playing sports in clubs, and trying to still have a social life. So being able to see them and understand that, hey, some of this, it's okay to say, like, I need some help. As Peter mentioned about the student advisory group, yes, many of them mentioned the counseling department. And I think that knowing that you have them on your mind and they have you on their mind, that we'll meet in the middle and make sure that those needs get met for those students as well. I remember I think it was pretty early on when you came in and you asked, does every person in the building every student have a trusted adult? And we've made sure that we've increased those numbers. I can't say that we've matched every student with a trusted adult, but it has been placed in the forefront of us to have it on our mind, like, do I know all the kids in my building? Or do I know most of the kids in my building? Do I know all the 7th graders if I work with 7th graders? And being able to identify those needs. I will also say that the work that we have done in terms of creating a sense of belonging and the work that you mentioned tonight is all the work that is being done to help reduce the stigma of mental illness in our community, to be able to say, I need help, I think I'm experiencing anxiety, I don't know what's going on, I just need to talk to somebody. And sometimes that's all it is, and you are the people that the students get to talk to. And so I thank you for being present. I will say that I have seen you in action, all of you. I have seen you in community. Danielle especially, even in my community, on my street, serving students, bringing clothes, dropping off whatever resource it is. If I had one thing to say, I would say that I think preceding Danielle was Maxine Birdsong. For the life that I have sat on this board, and when my children have been in this district, we have had one social worker. That is not enough for 4,000 plus students. And you make it work. And I know the stress that you all are under, and Pablo, you mentioned it. So I hope that you do this summer take some time for yourselves and make sure that you're pouring into your own cup, because we need you, and our students need you, and you are what allows teachers to get in front of them and teach. So I just want to personally, from the bottom of my heart, I've worked in mental health, I've worked in social work before at another district, and to see the work that we do here is astounding. And you all show up every day, and you give your all for our kids, and I cannot thank you enough.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to leave with a couple of final thoughts before we get to the rest of our agenda tonight. One thing, and Peter mentioned and Keisha mentioned, our Student Advisory Council that we have. We have a middle school one and we have a high school one. And a couple of things I just want to point out is both the middle school and the high school brought up counseling and brought up SEL supports. And one of the things at the middle school they talked about is the wonderful job and the amount of support they feel with No Place for Hate. And they wanted to schedule a meeting with Dr. Thompson to how do we keep this momentum going with No Place for Hate. And she really listened, and she tried to incorporate some things based upon the student feedback. So Tiffany, you're there, I see Jen there, but all of you guys have a key role with No Place for Hate. So I wanted to make sure I passed along that. And then the other thing, the way I took it from the Student Advisory Council at the high school is they really love you and they need you, right? And so it was like, you know, what can we do to, you know, maybe we need more of our students to see the counselors. What can we put up signs? They were trying to come up with ideas. And one of the ideas that stuck out with me, because I was looking at all your data that you were showing, and, you know, the one thing that neither of us can do is, you know what, there's only so many days a week, there's so many hours in the day. But one of the things that the kids, and if you remember, they said, we're a part of teams, or we're a part of clubs, and we're a part of activities. And sometimes we need help in those teams and clubs and activities, and we have a massive amount of kids. Like you could have, like all in one shot, you could have the entire soccer team, and you could maybe coach them through. And I thought that was an idea that you could maybe grasp, because again, you can't make up more time in the day. And I thought that was a huge positive that the kids were bringing you guys up so much, because one, it shows just what the quality job you're doing. And two, it also shows where our kids are in terms of mental health and wellness, right? And that they're recognizing that. I thought that was really huge. I also want to thank Maggie for if we really listen, and this was a lot of information, but one of the goals that this board has said to me over and over again is it's not just students' mental health and wellness that we need to worry about, it's staff as well. And I think you heard that our board is really concerned about you all as well. And so the fact that you're training teachers, and you're not just saying, well, I want these teachers to train to be able to help the kids, but help themselves, and you're offering that up to the teachers, I think is something that I know is well received by our Board of Education, without a doubt. Shayna, what you said was spot on, right? I was highly impressed with that fact and I heard you say, put me in, coach. Yeah, coming from the back section, come on in. But I thought what you said was spot on correct. Changing the stigma and trying to find out why kids are in your office and then meeting their needs. I was really impressed by what you had to say, and I wanted to personally thank you for that. The alignment page that you showed, I think that should be received really well by the Board of Education, because we only have so many hours in the day too. And so when we take the time at our board retreat to put some things together, the fact that you guys are aligning to our strategic plan, I thought was another big piece. And then the last thing I'm going to say is I really, you know, obviously I have 7 bosses here. All right. And so sometimes I get, but if you haven't felt the support tonight from this Board of Education, and this is something that they are absolutely passionate about. This is a topic that they always talk about. And so when you have all of the questions and all of the statements up here tonight, This is not a lip service from this Board of Education. This is like deep in their heart. And it makes me proud to be in Ladue, that this is such a priority. And when you hear the questions being asked, they truly are not questions of, hey, why don't? It's what can we do? You know that whole good to great, right? Do you lead looking through a window and pointing your finger at everybody? Or do you lead looking through a mirror? This board looks in a mirror and says, well, how can we help? And that's what we're looking at doing. We just had a meeting with Dr. TJ about all of these. Well, what can we do? Layla Crabtree was in it. So what are some next steps? So I just wanted to not only thank you all for being here, because it's a late night, and we're not too close to the end of the year, are we? Yeah, I mean, we're at the end of and you guys are here. I want to thank the group in the back too, showing support. Yeah. And then I really want to thank our Board of Education for placing your wellness on the forefront of their minds, and most importantly, our students' wellness on the forefront of their minds. So it was a great conversation. It was a really nice presentation. So thank you, Dr. TJ, for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it is a pleasure working with this group. And I've always said that the counseling, even before I got in this job, I've always said the counselor role is the most challenging role in the education, I feel like, because they are advocating for students. They also have to balance, being an advocate with parents sometimes for students, with their parents, also in the building with staff. And they support staff as well. They're the person that we all go to. And so it's a heavy weight that they carry, and I love working with them, and I can't thank them enough for what they do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are thankful for all of you. Oh, yeah. You guys, I assume you guys can go, unless you want to stay in here about policy, which also super fun.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Board policy updates. Dr. Macy, Dr. Helm. Oh, Dr. TJ gets to come back. We'll let her. Oh, no. Okay. Okay. No worries.
All right, a couple policy updates. The first one is DFA, revenues from investments, use of surplus funds. What this policy does is it tightens up the district's investment policies and asks us to adopt a model set forth by the Missouri State Treasurer's investment policy, which is a safe harbor policy. So what it does is it pretty much says safety, liquidity, and yield is what's important. All of those things are important with us. Our current investments are with our regular bank, central bank, and with MOCAT. So MOCAT is a Missouri municipal firm that the board adopted a resolution to invest with through Prop L. So we have the majority of our funds with central bank, and we have 10 million with MOCAT. What we have there is we have a guaranteed rate. So with both of those places, our bank in particular, we receive 92% of the IORB plus 5 basis points. What's good about that is as the rates fluctuate, we still appreciate the additional 5 basis points. The other quality thing there is that it's an ICS account. As a school district, any investment we have has to be FDIC insured, anything above $250,000. So what central bank does is they use a sweep account where our money goes out to individual investments under $250,000 every night, and we have access to those funds in the morning. So we truly have the ultimate safe haven there in terms of insurance. We also have accessibility to those funds, so those funds aren't locked up long-term. MOCAT has a similar system. Their rate is tied to the federal rate plus 2 basis points, but it is also an ICS account, so none of that money is locked up. If interest rates should change, where it looks like a long-term investment is going to yield a better return on that investment, we would always bring that to the board via the consent agenda, and we shop those rates. So we've been trending above the 4% region for quite some time. Any questions? Okay, our second policy is centered around federal programs and projects, and particularly purchasing. So there's been a lot of talk in terms of the federal government and policies that have come down. This policy and these adjustments are tied into 2024. So it does take time for updates to come through MSBA. So none of these changes are associated with anything that we've read about or heard about in the news recently. One of the biggest things here, and Dr. Helm, I think, is going to talk about this in one of her policies as well, is that there is a safeguard about employee reporting of any waste, misuse of funds, or mismanagement of federal funds, and protecting that employee that they won't be terminated if they should make that report to somebody within the district to investigate. So that's really one of the big additions to this policy. Typically, we don't do a ton of purchasing through federal money. Based off of our current setup with Title I, II, III, and IV, we receive a minimal allocation. Where this would come into play would be if we receive any kind of federal grant or anything of that nature, and we would just have to make sure that we follow the federal procurement rules. Any questions? All right, thank you.
And Dr. Macy already covered mine. No, I'm just kidding. So mine is the Protected Staff Communications, GBCBB, and basically it just is applying the whistleblower law to anything around federal programs, so that employees are protected, they can't be discriminated against or demoted or in trouble for sharing any violations around federal programming. So we will be recommending this as recommended by MSBA.
I have one policy, policy IGBCA, Programs for Homeless Students. This is revised based primarily on the recent rule changes issued by the USDA. It's basically giving us guidance from DESE on the resolution of disputes involving students in transition. They have included a revised form for us to use when there is a resolution that comes up, but it really doesn't change our current practice because we have a process already in place for that. Any questions? So we are going to recommend it as written by MSBA.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. The preliminary budget. Thank you, Dr. Macy. Welcome back.
All right, the preliminary budget. So this is the busiest time of year for the business office. I promise I'm going to get Barb Myers to one of these meetings because she is a remarkable human being.
We need to give her a round of applause.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, for sure.
Barb, if you're watching.
She is tremendous. She has institutional knowledge, and she is one of the best that I've ever worked with, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So this is the budget season for us, and this will be a busy time. We don't intend on having a lengthy conversation this evening, but what we like to do is get the budget in print, make it part of the public record, and provide the board an opportunity to review the budget prior to the board retreat in June. So we're going to just run through a couple slides. The first thing is the budget is a living document. So even though we have these current projections, they could change between now and June. We feel pretty good about the preliminary budget, but what you don't see here is the projection of where we're at currently within our budget. We are in great shape, but we do like to report to the board once we have an understanding of how close to actual we really are. All right, so there's my pictures. Like to bring it back to the reason why we're all here and what the budget focuses on, and that's our student and our community. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but what we have here is we have our current budget as of 4/28/25, and that is the budget number. We've made some adjustments and some amendments, and we'll continue to do that down the stretch as we get closer to actual. This particular slide is our unrestricted fund. It's our Fund 1 and 2. So our general operating, we typically include 4, but Fund 1 and 2 is our balance that is reported to DESE. So that is that measurement when DESE takes that thermometer of what a district's fiscal snapshot looks like. So our current budget year, we're projecting an ending fund balance of $41.1 million, which is approximately 53.8% of our expenditures. One of the conversations we'll have at the board retreat is we still have 2 transfers left out there that we would be able to make in order to fund some capital programs and some capital improvements. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we move into the preliminary budget and some of those opportunities as well. So that's a number that could change. We don't ever write in any transfers until we have those conversations with the board. You'll notice that last year, 23-24, there is no transfer, and that's because we used that look-back period of 5 years. So we still have that transfer of $1.7 million that we can make, as well as the transfer that we would be eligible for this particular year. As we move into the preliminary budget, this is a reassessment year. That means all of our commercial properties and our real properties have been reassessed. Based off of those reassessments, we do see an increase in our revenues. Based off of our parameter-centered expenditures, we are looking at a difference in our revenues and our expenditures of approximately $10 million. Now, when we look at that, again, that provides us an opportunity to really examine our capital program and work ahead. I know that we've just finished 2 bond issues, but the ability to fund capital programs and to move forward with general improvements as well as future learning spaces without issuing additional debt is truly a remarkable financial position. So there's going to be great conversations to be had at the board retreat. When we look at our revenues, you can see that our actual 23-24 was $61.1 million, and this is our Fund 1, 2, and 4. Fund 3 is our debt service. That's a separate levy, so we don't ever include that. That strictly pays off our bonds and pays off any district debt, and state required that money can't be used for anything else. So this is our operating revenue. 24-25, we saw an increase to $64 million, and in the 25-26 preliminary, we're anticipating $74.3 million. Prop C is the 1-cent sales tax that's collected locally, sent to the state, and then distributed on a weighted average daily attendance basis. So it's all divided up evenly among every district per weighted ADA. 23-24, our actual was 5.8. 24-25, we actually budgeted less. The calendar created some anomalies with Black Friday. It didn't look like revenues were trending the way they were, but we think they're going to be back on track. So even though we budgeted under that 5.3, we've collected 5.3, and we're probably going to be closer to 5.8, 5.9 this year. The number we have in there for the 25-26 preliminary budget is a number that's provided to us by DESE. The disclaimer on that is Prop C is only distributed if it's collected. So we'll know more about that particular allocation throughout the course of the year, and if sales trend down or up, we will adjust that accordingly in that December-January cycle. Transportation, again, has been fully funded. It was fully funded in the governor's preliminary budget. It was fully funded at the Senate's Appropriations Committee. So we do feel very confident that full funding will maintain for at least 1 more year. We showed the 22-23 number in our last budget cycle because that number was $400,000, which I would say is closer to what we're used to seeing in the education world, because transportation is the first budget that's cut when things like SB 727 are passed or there's any unfunded mandates. The Senate Appropriations Committee was adamant that we keep that number in there, and we hope that it stays there for quite some time, but it is a number that we could see trend down as we move forward. Formula Classroom Trust, I did add this. We don't typically talk about this, but we talk so much about it through the legislative committee works that we did and some of the community engagements. So when we look at our formula and our Classroom Trust, and the formula is the state foundation formula, Classroom Trust is the lottery and gambling money. They put both of those together to come up with the formula. So if one goes up, the other one comes down. So the allocation for us, since we're hold harmless, is always going to be right around that $2.2 million range. So when you factor all of that in, you can see that we are driven primarily through our local assessments and our local taxes. Our state is down to about 3.7%, and that even includes that $1 million allocation for transportation. Expenditures, salaries and benefits, 23-24, $55.5 million. 24-25, our budget is 57.6, and we see in 25-26 that going up to 60.4. And that number does include all of the parameter adjusted positions that we spoke to the board about and the board approved, with the middle school staffing, the additional ESOL teacher, the additional safety and security, moving from the SAs to the safety specialists. So we did include all of those positions in that number. Purchase services, 23-24, $10 million, 24-25, $11.3, and 25-26, we're looking at 12.1. Now, this is a number that we are continually watching because the costs of services are increasing, and that is directly related to the economy. Transportation and food service have leveled out a little bit, but custodial services, we've seen an increase there. And one thing that we haven't done is we haven't adjusted the wages of that purchase service the same way that we did with transportation a couple of years ago. So it's an area that we're definitely looking at, and an area that we've seen some increases over the past couple of years. The other one is for substitutes, and I would say that, and Dr. Helm can correct me, but it's not that we've seen a significant increase in substitutes, but we've seen a significant increase in our fill rate. So now that we're back to those pre-COVID fill rates, that number is also increasing too. So that number has increased a little bit. Supplies, we are in great shape from a supply perspective. In 24-25, and I'm sorry about that line there. It looks like it shifted when we added it in, but you'll see the 24-25 budget shows supplies at $6 million. And the year before, 4.2, and 25-26, 4.5. That $6 million includes the $1.5 million in AV upgrades that the board approved at last year's board retreat to upgrade all the audio-visual equipment at Reed and Conway to bring them up to par with all of the future-ready schools that were impacted through Prop L. So thank you for that, and we did complete that project, but it does throw that number off a little bit, which is why we added the asterisk. Capital is very similar, 23-24 budget, $4 million, 24-25. 5.5. We had closer to 10 million in that 24-25 budget, and that's because we went ahead and transferred the money for the 5th grade center in the high school. Since we're going to pay the majority of that in the next fiscal year, we've transferred that money into next year, but that money is part of our fund balance. The positive is that when that money is transferred into Fund 4 and it sits there all year as we wait for those projects, it does collect additional interest, and that interest stays in that Fund 4 to go towards capital. So our preliminary budget there in 25-26 is $11.4 million. So when we look at the budget and we really talk about where the expenditures go, we did take out Fund 4 in this particular slide, which is our capital, because that account is so big and it just kind of distorts, everything that we have going on. So when we look at just Fund 1, 2, and 7, and Fund 7 is community services, so we do pull that out and account for that differently, but it is part of that DESE reported balance. When we look at those numbers that way, the majority of our expenditures are certified salaries, non-certified salaries, and benefits. And we're right at that 79-80% region. So that is the majority of our budget, the majority of our spend, and rightfully so, because education is a people-centered business. Board workshop, some topics. We'll bring a more refined preliminary budget. We'll also include the projections for this year, because the start of next year's budget is the basis of those projections. So we move into the next year based off of our ending point for this year. We do have some capital budget opportunities. The work that Mike and our facilities committee, our finance committee did in planning the capital projects is truly for this scenario here and moving forward, an opportunity to really look at the capital program in real time without issuing debt provides the board an opportunity to really address some spaces and some facilities. So a couple things that we're going to continue the conversation on is the admin center. We do have the RFQ out seeking a design team services, partnering with an architectural firm to help us solidify some plans there to determine, are we looking still at renovating spaces? Are we looking at building new spaces? So working with that group, we anticipate that we'll have a significant amount of proposals on the 20th. We issued those proposals to 8 different firms. We've heard from several other firms that we didn't issue an RFQ to, but they found it listed in the paper and or on the website, and they've had some questions. So very exciting there. Conway Turf, we have been working with the civil engineer to determine any MSD requirements, similar to what we talked about at the 5th grade center. If we're going to add artificial surface, then we need to make sure that we're addressing the stormwater, because we don't want to solve our problem and create a problem for a neighbor in terms of creating additional stormwater or flooding. And then Reed and Conway HVAC needs, this is something that Mike and I have been discussing since Prop L. This would be the last holdover project from Prop L. When we looked at when the numbers came in and what came out, we did the windows last year, but we really need to do something to address those boilers at Reed and Conway. They are truly getting to that point where the equipment is so outdated, it's hard to make those repairs and to get those parts to support those. And then safety and security, establishing priorities. There was just I think it was SB 69 just passed today. A big omnibus bill that includes a ton of verbiage about safety and security. So we'll want to address some of the verbiage in there and talk about some of that. And tied into that could be the possibility for some potential infrastructure improvements. So just kind of a preview of some of the topics that we intend to touch on at the board retreat. So again, not intended to be a long presentation, but we definitely want to get the budget in the board's hand as soon as possible. So we can take any questions tonight, but between now and the June board retreat, if there's any questions about any of the line items or anything that anyone needs clarification on, please just reach out to Dr. Wibke or myself, and we can make sure that we're prepared to answer those questions.
I just have 2 very quick ones. For the Prop L funds that were earning interest, is there still any left there that could go towards the Reed and Conway HVAC?
So the Prop L interest is spent.
Okay.
So all of our bond funding, statutorily, that has to be spent, and the interest on that is limited in terms of arbitrage.
Okay.
So any interest accrued above and beyond the federal limit would actually have to be refunded back to the federal government. We were able to manage our investments and work through all of our expenditures in a timely enough manner that we didn't have arbitrage. So we don't have a huge settlement that we have to give back to the federal government. We were able to time it out pretty good.
Okay, thank you. And my last one was with SB 69. Was there any funding set aside in that bill to help offset the cost of those mandated upgrades?
So I would say to be determined. It doesn't appear that there was, but when we look at some of those and some of the conversations that we have, one piece of legislation that they've been talking about for years is safety film. Even though it didn't pass and even though there wasn't funding tied to it, we had an opportunity to strengthen our structures and provide that extra layer of safety. So I think some of the conversations will be around things might be recommended, they might be, in the queue for future years for future funding, but is it something that we think is going to benefit our staff and students now in real time, and do we have the resources to go ahead and make that happen? Because, I don't want to get into a legislative thing, but I don't know when they're ever going to have the funding for it. So it's interesting that they have all these conversations, bring these things up, and pass a law that says, well, you only have to do it if we pay for it. So we can talk more about that in June.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. And last, but certainly not least, the 26-27 academic calendar. Everyone's favorite topic for everyone who's still here.
Nothing like coming at the end of a 3-hour board meeting. All right, I'm here to present the 26-27 calendar as an information item. A couple things to note about the calendar. It is the latest that we can start school on August 24th because Labor Day is the latest that it can be on September 7th. So that provides just some interesting, the calendar's super tight in order to get in our 173 student contact days and our 188 teacher contract days. So you will see an significant increase from 5 pre-session days to 9 pre-session days. The calendar committee that has a representative staff member from every building. The preference of the staff was to add the days in August rather than add them in June. Winter break is shorter because we have to get those 60 hours of Carnegie credit units in order to have first semester at the high school count as 0.5 credits. There is no additional Monday off in October for fall break that year. We don't see the teacher work days in April or May that existed in this calendar and next year's calendar. And there was discussion about moving spring break, but we decided for tradition's sake to keep spring break the 3rd week of March, where it's traditionally been.
And Memorial Day looks later.
Yeah, so school will end the Friday before Memorial Day, but Memorial Day is May 31st. So Memorial Day is also the latest.
Not June, though. We're not in June.
We're not going into June. And we're not going after Memorial Day.
Amazing.
And you see this still meets Missouri's current requirement for 169 school days, as well as the 1,080 hours.
Okay.
Thank you. It's a lot of moving parts.
Not a lot of room for snow days, Dr.
Well, we get the ones we get.
We don't mind a bit.
Some AMI days if we need it.
More sun next winter.
More sun next year. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
All right,
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Keisha.
Second.
Thank you,
Oh, Pablo
Peter
gets,
and
Pablo
Pablo.
gets it.
I'll let Fern decide.
I made a motion that you
Oh,
weren't.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you. See you all at the board retreat.